Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Gaowu, Devour the Reborn and Gain Magical Powers of Destiny. Chapter 61. Yulongbu. Mater, this kid is only in the blood-dissolving realm, can he perform the wandering dragon step? Seeing Shu An's selfless cultivation, Ji Yuli didn't care at first. But when he saw the extremely fast and erratic figure, he was immediately stunned. He also bought the wandering dragon step, but he spent 2 years honing the basic shunpo alone. Not long ago, he was able to step into the dragon's footsteps, but how long had Shu An practiced shunbu? 8 days, or 10 days. Now you have achieved great success in an instant and started practicing the wandering dragon step. Innate sense of fighting, why don't I have one? Looking at the figure running around randomly, Ji Yuli curled his lips in disgust. Is there anyone else that Ji Yu Dakai can envy? Seeing Ji Yuli's disgusted expression, Shengguan Ruonin said funny. In her memory, Ji Yuli was extremely arrogant no matter who he faced, even the extremely talented Zhou Can. Seeing Ji Yuli's envy now made her very interesting. TCH, what's so great about it? Who doesn't have a strong field yet? Have you seen anyone who has a better state of mind than me? Ji Yuli curled his lips. Although his words were harsh, he was almost dying of soreness. But Shu An is also very strong in understanding the formation. Shengguan Ruonin was teasing Ji Yuli with his words, but as he spoke, he himself began to feel envious. A naturally strong sense of combat, a terrifying awareness of formations, and a fearless state of mind to break through at such a young age. Shengguan Ruonin sighed in his heart. It turns out that there are really desperate geniuses in this world. Mom, you have to break through quickly. It won't be long before this kid can dominate the physical realm. Ji Yuli muttered. He has delayed for too long. Now his junior brothers are getting stronger quickly. If he doesn't hurry up, he is afraid that his junior brothers will catch up with him. It would be very embarrassing then. Isn't the golden forging furnace in the secret realm of the heavens about to open this year? Shengguan Ruonin seemed to have thought of something and asked. Well, there are less than 5 months left. If this kid practices faster, he might be able to catch up. That place is a holy place for body casting. If you can get a good ranking, you will be really strong if you get the divine power. Thinking of his own past, Ji Yuli spoke with emotion. Where did you rank in terms of physical fitness? Have you obtained any divine powers from the secret realm of the heavens? Looking at Ji Yuli, Shengguan Ruonin asked curiously. She has also entered the secret realm of the heavens, but unfortunately that place does not allow the use of any external force except physical strength. She was only proficient in formations, but she didn't get a good ranking. I met a few perverts, and I only ranked 8th. As for my natural talent. After a pause, Ji Yuli smiled and said nothing more. But even so, Shengguan Ruonin looked shocked. Ji Yuli said it lightly, but in a secret realm where thousands of races participated, it was already extremely terrifying to be ranked 8th. The strongest group of people in the new generation of thousands of races, this gold content is terrifying. Boom. While Ji Yuli and Ji Yuli were talking, a collision sound suddenly sounded. The two of them turned around and shook their heads in confusion. It turned out that Shu An was too obsessed with his practice, and he didn't control the Yulong step well and hit the stone wall with his head. Mistake. Shu An covered his red forehead and grinned awkwardly. The speed of Yulongbu was too fast. Even if it was a perfect instant step, it could not be controlled for a while. However, after a short period of familiarity, he was able to use it simply, and it wouldn't take long before he could completely control it. We'll be there soon. Don't practice this combat skill yet, lest you rush directly into a group of monster beasts. Ji Yuli picked up the big bow behind him and looked at a valley in the distance, his eyes full of expectation. Shu An followed the other person's gaze and looked over. Thousands of meters away from them, the rich spiritual energy turned into clouds and mist, covering the sky above a valley. The density of spiritual energy there is so frightening that it even turns into heavy rain from the thick clouds and mists. Even though they were far away, the pure spiritual power spread. The three of them approached quietly and soon reached the top of the valley. Shu An looked down and suddenly took a breath of air. The small valley was covered with mist, and various and dense monster beasts were crawling on the ground, as if they were sleeping. Just 1 or 2 of the monster beasts we met on the road were very difficult to deal with. If this large group of monster beasts swarmed over, they would be torn into pieces. And in the center of the valley, there are 3 extremely majestic monsters gathered together. Judging from the momentum, it is definitely not comparable to the body casting realm. Senior brother, these monster beasts are going to swarm us. Even if we have formations, we can't stop them, right? Shu An's scalp felt numb when he saw it. Don't worry, these monsters are all sleeping. As long as there is no big movement, they will not be awakened. The most important thing is the last step. Looking at the monster in the center of the valley, Ji Yuli had a solemn expression on his face. Every time we get close to there, all the monsters will attack us like crazy. There will be too many monsters by then, and we won't have anywhere to run. This time Ruonin and I will eradicate the demonic beasts in the periphery little by little. When the number of demonic beasts dwindles, I will rush in, pick up the spiritual seeds and run away. After finishing his words, he looked at Shuan and said, at that time, all the monsters will go crazy. If Ruonin sets up a formation, and you use the array treasures to assist, as long as you leave the valley, these monsters will not chase you. Shuan and Shangguan Ruonin nodded. The plan was not complicated. The only trouble was to slowly eradicate the surrounding monsters. Don't run around, Ruonin and I are going. Ji Yuli said hello and led Shangguan Ruonin into the valley in a cat-like manner. Halfway through, Ji Yuli bent his bow and nocked an arrow, and shot an arrow at a monster beast, then turned around and ran away. The mindless monster didn't give up until it reached the edge of the valley, and was about to turn back. But Ji Yuli and Shangguan Ruonin did not hold back the monsters that came out of the valley, and they killed them with their swords in just a few moves. The other monsters seemed to be isolated by the valley and were not disturbed at all. In this way, Ji Yuli and Shangguan Ruonin slowly eradicated the surrounding monsters, while Shuan collected the essence and blood. It starts over and over again, although the speed is not fast, but the victory is safety. While Shuan was waiting, he took out the demonic beast essence and blood and started practicing again. The strong essence fire burns in the body, the blood becomes pure, the 5 internal organs gradually become stronger, and the meridians and bones become stronger and tougher. Facing the inexhaustible blood essence of monsters, Shuan's strength quickly grew. But just when Shuan was immersed in the practice of rapidly becoming stronger, a strange feeling suddenly emerged in his heart. Shuan frowned and looked in the direction of the valley. He could feel that there seemed to be something in the valley, attracting him to go there. That special summons made him feel very familiar, as if something that should belong to him was left there. My stuff. Shuan frowned. He had lived in a small city for most of his life and had never traveled far. What could he throw away? Could it be the one I gained the memory from? Instantly, Shuan's eyes became bright. Shuan didn't know the existence of the person whose memory he had devoured. However, since he could survive to the end when the human race was destroyed, and also use terrifying means to cross the timeline and return to the present, he must not be an ordinary person. If the things in the valley are really related to that person, they are definitely something extraordinary. But there was one thing that puzzled Shuan. Since he is a reborn person, it means that there is this reborn person's true self on the current timeline. But why do things belonging to the reborn person make me feel like I'm being summoned? Is it because I swallowed the reborn person? Shuan frowned. This question was very complicated and made him feel like he was out of time. But after thinking for a while, Shuan shook his head. No matter what, since he encountered it first, of course it belongs to him. Do you still have to give up stupidly and wait for the next person? Thinking of this, Shuan flashed and walked out into the valley. At this time, a large part of the monster beasts in the valley had been reduced, and Ji Yuli and Shangguan Ruonin attacked very quickly. It won't be long before we can take the final step and snatch the spiritual seeds. Shuan stepped into the valley cautiously, and an extremely rich spiritual energy suddenly hit his face. The spiritual energy outside the valley is already very strong, but here it is more than 10 times that of the outside world. Moreover, one can clearly see in the valley that in its center, the aura is so rich that it even condenses into terrifying crystals. Like a palace, it firmly protects what is nurtured in the center. What made Shuan frown slightly was that Ruoyurawu's call came from near the palace. The monsters in that place were almost one next to another, and it was difficult to even get a foot down. Ji Yuli said that as long as the things in the center of the palace are not moved, these monsters will not wake up. Let's take a look first. If the thing is in the center, we'll talk about it later. After Shuan pondered for a moment, he quietly approached the center. He was on tenterhooks all the way. He could even clearly hear the breathing of the monster beast that he passed by from time to time, as well as the fishy smell coming from his mouth. It would be great fun if one accidentally woke up. However, this valley is very magical, as if some order has been given to these monsters. They cannot leave easily or leave the valley. This allowed Shuan, a young warrior in the blood-dissolving realm, to advance slowly under the eyes of many monsters. At this time, after Ji Yuli and Shangguan Ruonan killed a monster, they returned to the valley and saw Shuan advancing quietly. Holy shit, Shuan is tired of living. Ji Yuli's scalp was numb, and he trotted over with Shangguan Ruonan. There are many monsters here, and the closer they are to the center, the stronger they become. If they are awakened, there will be nowhere to run. Shuan, you are crazy. Quickly arriving at Shuan's side, Ji Yuli grabbed him and shouted. Hurry up, something unexpected will happen soon. There are so many monsters and I can't protect you. Shangguan Ruonan on the side also nodded solemnly and looked at the sleeping monsters around him vigilantly. It's okay, I don't move anything, I just took a look. Shuan explained softly, which made Ji Yuli feel relieved. He was afraid that Shuan would be bold enough to go to the palace. If the place was passive, these monsters would go crazy. Junior brother, curiosity will kill the cat. Can you wander around in this place? Ji Yuli held a big bow and shook his head in a funny way. It's not just curiosity. I feel like something is calling me there. Shuan pointed around the palace with expectation in his eyes. When we got here, the mysterious feeling became even stronger. Call, Ji Yuli and Shangguan Ruonan asked in unison in surprise. The two looked at each other and saw the strangeness in each other's eyes. Well, it's hard to describe, but it is. Shuan was afraid that the two of them would not understand, so he was ready to explain, but Ji Yuli just waved his hand. Stop talking, I understand. Ji Yuli sighed and looked at Shuan enviously. What kind of luck is this? If I come to find a spiritual seed, you will find it and inherit it. Inheritance. Shuan had a question mark on his face. Those who are destined to inherit the inheritance will get it. This is not an empty talk. Seeing Shuan's doubts, Shangguan Ruonan explained. Some special inheritances don't belong to whomever they encounter. Inheritances also pick people. Some people selected by the inheritance will be attracted by the inheritance. Shuan was stunned. Did he guess wrong? The things in this valley are not the things of the reborn person, but are the inheritance of the chosen one. Junior brother, where is the thing? It's okay if it's outside the palace, but if it's inside the palace, it might be a bit troublesome. Ji Yuli frowned. There is only one chance to break the palace. He knows the location of the spiritual seed he needs and can get it as soon as possible. But if you slowly search for the inheritance in the palace, it will be much more difficult. Probably not. I feel like it's coming soon. Shuan stared at the place occupied by the monster not far away and made sure to speak. Walk. Ji Yuli didn't talk nonsense, and quietly and quickly stepped forward with Shuan. After a short time, the three of them came to a flat ground. However, there are several sleeping monsters on the ground, with nowhere to go. Be careful and get rid of the monsters in this area first. Ji Yuli made a gentle gesture, and Shuan hid secretly. Ji Yuli shot an arrow and accurately hit the monster's head. Roar! The monster opened its angry eyes, turned around and chased Ji Yuli. However, after a short while, Ji Yuli and Shangguan Ruonan returned quickly. Over and over again, the monsters in this area disappeared in a matter of seconds. Why is there nothing? Junior brother, you won't sense it wrong, right? Looking at the empty ground, Ji Yuli looked at Shuan suspiciously. Shuan didn't say a word, just walked to the open space and wandered for a moment, then lowered his head and started digging with the 100-forging knife. His strong physique allowed him to dig very quickly, and soon a large hole appeared on the ground. Ji Yuli and Shangguan Ruonan looked at it strangely. They have also encountered inheritance before, but this is the first time they have seen such a down-to-earth person. Is this inheritance not fake? But just as the thought came up for the two of them, a clear voice sounded. Ding! Ji Yuli and Shangguan Ruonen's eyes lit up, they really dug something. Shuan moved very quickly in the pit, and soon a broken, heavy stone tablet appeared in front of the three of them. The stone tablet is simple and thick, with many strange pictures engraved on it. The entire stone tablet looks unremarkable, and it is broken at the middle. No matter how you look at it, it is a useless thing. Junior brother, don't be too disappointed, this should be an abandoned inheritance. Ji Yuli patted Shuan on the shoulder and comforted him. Shangguan Ruonen next to him also looked regretful, as inheritance is rare. However, at this time, Shuan didn't hear the words of the two people around him at all. In the eyes of the two of them, the stone tablet was ordinary, but it caused Shuan's sea of consciousness to stir up huge waves. A heroic picture of the ancient human race competing against all races is slowly unfolding. The moment Shuan touched the stone tablet, his sea of consciousness shook. The strange picture engraved on the stone tablet appeared in his mind as if it had come alive. In the ancient starry sky, all races gathered. The corpses scattered throughout the star field gathered into endless mountains. The raging river is not clear, but a turbid sea of blood that emits endless light. Broken weapons penetrated the void, broken halberds crushed the stars, and countless broken weapons became military graves. Endless killing and overwhelming evil aura. Shuan stared at all this blankly. Even the weakest corpse here made him feel cold all over and his scalp was numb. Even a weak breath can kill him thousands of times. Here, where is? Shuan murmured like he was dreaming, his face full of shock. Just at this moment, new changes appeared on the screen. Countless streams of light burst out from the depths of the star field. They were a species that Shuan had never seen before. They wore heavy armor, exuding a pressure as deep as a prison, and fell thousands of stars in one step and retreated. In front of these people was a tall figure with a vague face. He simply stood there, but it seemed as if he had the entire starry sky under his feet. Ha ha ha, human emperor, the human race has ruled the heavens for billions of years, it's time for you, the human race, to repay your debt. A creature with two horns strode forward and let out a laugh that shook the star field. The human race is really strong. Such a weak race has actually been sitting on the throne for hundreds of millions of years. It lasts longer than the original Dragon Clan and Phoenix Clan. The speaker was a man whose whole body was radiating holy light and whose pupils were as hot as the sun. He chuckled and spoke, resounding in the star field. But that's it. The fate of the human race has come. It's time to leave like the dragons. The army of hundreds of millions roared at this moment, shattering the stars in the sky. Kill, kill, kill. The terrifying roar set off an endless storm, and the pressure that could crush everything surged towards the human emperor. The human emperor stood in the void, and the terrifying coercion did not even lift the corners of his clothes. But he was too seriously injured, with his broken suit, broken sword, and every wound on his body lingering with a terrifying aura. The human race will not be destroyed. The human emperor opened his mouth, as if he had issued a decree, and all the sounds disappeared in an instant. It didn't happen in the past, it won't happen now, and it still won't happen in the future. The human emperor looked towards the distant void, he seemed to see something, he smiled softly and said, "Hope is still there, and the human race will live forever." Shuan looked at his scalp numbing and a chill rising from his tailbone. I don't know if it was an illusion, but the human emperor's gaze just now seemed to be looking at him. How can it be? Shuan shook his head and threw away this unrealistic idea. This is just a picture, and it is not yet known whether the people in it are dead or alive. How is it possible to see his existence across endless time? Kill. The war broke out. An army of hundreds of millions against the emperor. Wrong. Xylulu. Ang. At the critical moment, a roar like a dragon and a horse resounded throughout the entire star field. In the depths of nothingness, a mighty and huge dragon horse galloped over. Seeing that creature, Shuan looked shocked. Perfect. He had never seen such a creature. It looks like a horse or a dragon, its feet are in flames, its body is purple, and it has a single pointed horn on its forehead, full of unspeakable explosive power. Just at the first glance, the word, perfect, comes into my mind. This is a manifestation of the evolution of living things to the top. The race that came into being for the human emperor, the Ryoma clan. Ha ha ha, surrender to us, and your clan will live on forever. Someone from the 10,000 clan shouted loudly, looking at Longma with eyes as fiery as fire. Dragons and horses are naturally auspicious animals. Having such a mount can bring prosperity and turn danger into safety. Even if they are enemies, all races are still unwilling to hurt him. Xylulu. Ang. The dragon horse roared with a roar, and a jade-like horn on its head burst out with extremely bright light. The light seemed to split the heaven and earth, falling into the crowds of all races, killing countless gods and demons. The dragon and horse shook their heads and swung their tails, and came to the human emperor, prostrate and mourning. He seemed to have foreseen the future of the human emperor. Don't cry, your master is still waiting for you in the future. The human emperor caressed the dragon's horse's head, looked at the charging army of hundreds of millions, and chuckled. Ma, come and fight with me. Xylulu. Ang. The dragon and horse neighed and lifted up the human emperor. Flames burned the sky all over his body, surrounded by ancient virtual dragons behind him. War. The human emperor shouted angrily, the broken sword in his hand emitted immeasurable light, and thousands of stars shattered and destroyed. The army of hundreds of millions suffered countless casualties and blood flowed into rivers. Countless gods and demons roared in, tearing apart the endless void and filling the sky with light. The human emperor's life only lasts day and night, but he fights like crazy. The seal of the human emperor. The human emperor roared angrily, and a seal fell from the void like a seal crushing the world. The dense army of gods and demons seemed to be empty in an instant, and not even a trace of blood was left on the body. This terrifying power made hundreds of millions of living beings tremble. A mortal destroying spear. It's not over yet. The human emperor held it in the air with one hand, and a bright spear emitting endless light appeared in his hand. Boom! With a spear thrown, the aura of endless destruction enveloped the star field, and thousands of great worlds collapsed instantly. That terrifying army of hundreds of millions was actually penetrated by this spear. Too strong. Shuan murmured in shock. Just looking at these scenes seemed to tear him apart. Is that the human emperor? Each move can tear the heavens and the earth apart. Even if he is seriously injured, one person can suppress the attacks of billions of creatures. And the dragon horse. The flames surged into the sky, burning up thousands of stars, and a dragon roar shattered countless gods and demons. The ancient void dragon surrounding him had blocked countless terrifying attacks for the human emperor. Strong and invincible. Is this the human emperor in ancient times? Shuan was shocked and speechless, and the battle continued. The endless blood of gods and demons dyed the star field red, and the aftermath of the battle shattered countless stars. But after all, there was only one human emperor, and he was seriously injured, and his breath slowly dropped. Ma, it's time for you to go, I still have some things to do. The human emperor gently stroked Ryoma and wiped away the blood on the corner of his mouth. He looked into the void and murmured to himself. Be nice to him and I'll give you a meeting gift. After the words fell, amidst the screams of the dragon and horse, the human emperor intercepted a piece of void and sealed the dragon and horse. Then a bright light flashed between his eyebrows. Go! The light flashed and went straight towards Shuan, who seemed to be nothing. Crash! At this moment, a vast river appeared from nothingness, trying to intercept the bright light. Time and space can stop me. The human emperor shouted angrily, and cut off the river with a slash of his sword. The light quickly jumped across the cut-off river and instantly disappeared into Shuan's eyebrows. In just a moment, Shuan, who looked shocked, was taken out of the picture and returned to reality. And deep in his mind, a mysterious scripture emerged. A mortal destroying spear, seal of the human emperor. A mortal destroying spear, the ultimate edge, the sharpest end. Nothing can stop it, nothing can break it. Can kill immortals and gods, master the law of destruction. Seal of the human emperor. The clan that holds the power of the heavens, watching all clans evolve the emperor's battle methods. Those who are not of the human race cannot learn from it. Two scriptures exuding endless mystery emerged from Shuan's sea of knowledge. The scriptures are extremely mysterious, and every word is full of unspeakable charm, as if it contains the ultimate principles of heaven and earth. But the strange thing is that Shuan didn't realize anything, but he naturally understood the truth. It's like, this thing is itself, it's a familiar feeling full of strangeness. The soul I swallowed is the ancient human emperor. Or was it the ancient human emperor who directly helped me understand these two magical powers? But if the soul I swallowed belongs to the ancient human emperor, then why does he know the future direction? I can't. Shuan frowned and murmured to himself. He couldn't figure out what was going on. Why can the human emperor in ancient scenes see himself? The so-called hope in the human emperor's mouth, is it himself or the next generation of human emperors? If the soul he devoured is the soul of the next generation of human emperor, why did he feel so familiar with those two ancient magical powers? Too many questions emerged in Shuan's mind. For the first time, he felt that the human race was not as simple as he imagined. The human race seems to be playing a big chessboard. This chessboard transcends the limitations of time and includes the past, present, and future. Shuan didn't know his position on the chessboard. Is it a chess piece, a variable, or a person playing chess? No matter what, just work hard to become stronger and keep the human race alive. All doubts will surface in 5 years. The human race was defeated 3 years later and exterminated 5 years later. Regardless of all plans and calculations, 5 years from now will be a critical node. But what makes Shuan full of curiosity is if what he is devouring is the soul of this generation of human emperors. So does the current human emperor still exist? If he is still there, then who is he? After thinking for a long time, Shuan shook his head and left these complicated problems behind. These are not questions he should think about now. His eyes were focused on the two magical powers he had just acquired. Destroy Immortal Spear, Seal of the Human Emperor. This is the most powerful and terrifying magical power that Shuan has ever seen. He still clearly remembered that in the ancient scroll, a human emperor's seal cleared a star field, and an immortal destroying spear penetrated an army of hundreds of millions. That terrifying power can make people tremble and make them yearn for it. Only, there are 3 styles of the immortal destroying spear, and only 1 style of the human emperor's seal. Is it because the stone tablet is incomplete? Shuan looked at the stone tablet in his hand with a look of pity in his eyes. In ancient times, I don't know how long it has been, but I was extremely lucky to come across this stone tablet. But the world is so vast, where should we go to find the other half of the stone tablet? The other half of the stone tablet should contain the complete immortal destroying spear and human emperor seal. The human emperor's last words about doing something should also be recorded on that half of the stone tablet. Shuan took this matter to heart and must find the other half of the stone tablet in the future. As for this half, while Shuan was deep in thought, a cracking sound sounded. Shuan was stunned and looked down at the stone tablet in his hand. At some point, the stone tablet had broken into pieces. As his gaze swept over it, the stone tablet quietly turned into powder and spread out in his palm. It was as if it had completed its mission and disappeared at a point in time when it should not have existed. Shuan. While Shuan was thinking wildly, a call from beside him woke him up. What's wrong? Shuan woke up from her dream and looked at Ji Yuli and Shengguan Ruonan beside her. What's wrong? You've been standing there for a long time and you didn't say anything when I asked. Seeing Shuan's response, Ji Yuli breathed a sigh of relief and said, You seem to be possessed just now. You didn't respond no matter how you called me. Shengguan Ruonan asked curiously. What happened? Why did the stone tablet suddenly break? When Ji Yuli heard this, he also looked at Shuan curiously. It's nothing. There is an incomplete picture inside this stone tablet. I was fascinated by it for a while. Shuan smiled and said nothing more. Today's experience was so bizarre that no one would believe him if he told it. Okay, it's fine. Ji Yuli nodded, then looked around at the monsters that had been almost eradicated. It's time to take action. Success or failure depends on this last step. Shengguan Ruonan nodded, and with a wave of his hand, he placed a large number of formation flags outside the spiritual crystal palace. The formation flags were staggered and intertwined, and a powerful and invisible wave was hidden within. Junior brother Shu, there is still one formation heart left. Shengguan Ruonan looked at Shuan. Her formation is very strong, but the last time she came here, she couldn't stop the monsters here. However, if there is a formation treasure as the center of the formation, the power and stability of the formation will be greatly increased. This link is extremely crucial. Shuan nodded, and then his mind sank into the sea of consciousness. In his sea of consciousness, there are 2 magical things, a formation tablet and a stone carving. The formation monument is extremely tall, but the mysterious stone carving firmly occupies the center, squeezing the formation monument into the corner. Shuan couldn't move the destiny stone at all, but the formation tablet could be driven like an arm. Out. With a soft drink, Shuan formed a seal between his fingers, and the formation monument appeared in the outside world with a loud bang. In order to cause unnecessary trouble, Shuan deliberately reduced the formation monument, which was 100 feet high, to 10 feet. But even so, the moment the monument appeared, Shangguan Ruonen's mouth opened wide. So big. Shuan was stunned, and his heart skipped a beat. Isn't it? He has kept the formation monument to the smallest level, but this is still huge. Junior brother. Ji Yuli looked at Shuan strangely and pointed at the 30-meter formation monument. Is this the formation treasure you obtained from the small formation? He still remembered clearly that at that time Shuan said seriously that the formation inheritance he had obtained was a small formation. Later, he learned that formation treasures can only be conceived in medium-sized formations, and Shuan said seriously that what he obtained was a medium-sized formation. Can a medium-sized formation produce a formation treasure 10 feet high? Forehead. Shuan asked cautiously. 10 feet? Isn't that big? When it comes to understanding the formation, Shuan is as good as anyone. But on some basic cognitive issues, he is no longer bad, but he doesn't know anything. After all, he had just entered school and had not had time to study systematically. Is it still big? Shangguan Ruonen smiled bitterly and explained. Let me tell you this, my mentor obtained a medium-sized formation in a secret realm. The formation treasure he obtained is only 2 feet in size. My uncle understood a large formation not long ago, and the formation treasure is only 5 feet long. As she said that, she looked at Shuan strangely. This is the first time I have seen a formation monument of 10 feet in the medium-sized formation secret realm. Whether a formation treasure is powerful or not generally depends on its size. Because the more powerful the formation is, the more formation patterns are recorded. If the formation treasure is small, it cannot be recorded at all. Between the 3-foot-long formation treasure and the 5-foot-long formation treasure, one can tell at a glance whose formation is stronger. After all, there are 2 feet more formation inscriptions, and even this fool can see it. Worry. Shuan's mouth twitched slightly. It's really not his fault. He has carefully reduced the formation monument to the extreme, but even if it is still 10 feet long, what can he do? Junior brother, is this formation treasure of yours really obtained from the medium-sized formation secret realm? Looking at the speechless Shuan, Ji Yuli teased with a half-smile. Certainly. Shuan rubbed his neck and said confidently. The formation I obtained records a lot of miscellaneous things, but it's just a little bigger, and its power is just that. Ji Yuli and Shangguan Ruonen both shook their heads in amusement. They could tell at a glance whether what Shuan said was true or false. Don't worry, we are all our own people here, no one will go out and talk nonsense. Ji Yuli patted Shuan's shoulder and chuckled. Shangguan Ruonen next to him heard this, and his pretty face turned red slightly as he thought of something. Okay, this time with the help of your array treasure, we will definitely succeed. Get ready, it's time to go. Ji Yuli's eyes were filled with fire, and his body was full of energy and blood soaring to the sky. Seeing this, Shuan reached out and waved, and the formation tablet naturally landed in the center of the formation. In an instant, the formation roared, and a clearly visible powerful wave circulated around the base of the formation. After doing all this, Shuan turned around and ran out of the valley. The monsters around the spiritual crystal palace are each stronger than the last. Even Ji Yuli is no match. He is just delivering food here. Ji Yuli in the valley took a deep breath after seeing Shuan walking away. Light flashed under his feet, like a swimming dragon, arriving in front of the palace in an instant. Broken. With an angry shout, Ji Yuli punched the palace condensed with spiritual crystals with surging energy and blood. Boom. The entire palace trembled, and a hole of about 10 feet was blasted open. In an instant, bright rays of light spurted out, and the endless glow illuminated the sky. Looking along the entrance of the cave, there are beads as bright as gems condensed in the palace. The beads are bright and translucent, without impurities, and reflect charming colors under the brightest light. Flawless spiritual seed. Shuan, who was outside the valley, looked at the colorful light inside the cave entrance and his eyes widened. So much. The value of the flawless spiritual species is basically priceless and extremely rare. But now, there are actually many people inside that cave entrance. The flawless spiritual seeds, which are like pearls and gems, are like lamps illuminating the palace, embedded in the spiritual crystal wall. As he looked into the cave entrance, Xuan's expression suddenly changed. In the deepest part of the spiritual crystal cave entrance, endless rays of light shrouded, and a petite body curled up in the rays of light, as if sleeping. If that's the case, that's all. It's just a rare spiritual beast. But Xuan has seen this spiritual beast before. That is a pony covered in purple. If he hadn't experienced that ancient scene, Xuan wouldn't have such a big reaction. But this pony is so similar to the majestic dragon horse in the picture. Although the pony does not have jade horns on its forehead, does not have a dragon-like body, and is far from as tall and majestic as a dragon horse. But the moment he saw the pony, Xuan felt so familiar. Is it that dragon horse? Or his descendant? Xuan was confused and muttered to himself in a daze. And at the same time, the moment Ji Yuli broke through the palace, all the monsters in the valley suddenly opened their eyes. When they saw the palace being destroyed, endless violence and anger flashed in the eyes of all the monsters. Roar! All the monsters went crazy and rushed towards Ji Yuli quickly. Each of these monsters has a strong body and amazing power. Even one of them can cause strong damage, let alone all of them now. Ji Yuli's face was tense, as if he hadn't seen those monsters. The moment he opened the palace, he used all his strength to condense a thick thread of qi and blood, and threw it fiercely inside. But the pressure in the palace seemed to be very strong, and the thread fell to the ground as soon as it entered not far away. There were 1 or 2 spiritual seeds in this range, but Ji Yuli's eyes were fixed on the distance. There are a few there that are even more radiant than the flawless spiritual species. It would be fine if it wasn't better. Now that there was a better choice, he wouldn't be willing to give up like this. 2 years' time. He had been waiting for 2 years for this opportunity, so of course he wanted to give it a try. Go! Ji Yuli gritted his teeth and took off the big bow behind him, and threw it into the distance. Using the length of the big bow, he hooked a more perfect spiritual seed. Ji Yuli looked happy and immediately retracted the thread, picked up the spirit seed, turned around and ran away, not even having time to pick up his big bow. He can't enter this palace. If the exit is blocked, he will be dead. After abandoning the big bow, Ji Yuli immediately came to the formation and shouted sharply. Get into formation. Shangguan Ruonin, who had long been sweating while looking at the compilation, flew with seals in his hands and the formation suddenly unfolded. With the blessing of the formation treasure, the formation is much more powerful than it was originally. Endless sword energy surrounded it, the ground around it collapsed, and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth rioted. Roar! At the same time, a terrifying group of monster beasts came and slammed into the formation. Boom! A roar resounded throughout the world, the formation trembled violently, and some formation bases even had slight cracks. These monsters have become stronger again. We don't need the formation base anymore. Run away. Ji Yuli's expression changed drastically when he saw this. He picked up Shangguan Ruonin and ran out of the valley like crazy. In the next moment, the formation behind them exploded into pieces. The physical strength of those monster beasts was so strong that even the formations blessed by formation treasures could only block them for a moment. Ji Yuli and the two ran away frantically, sweating profusely. The aftermath of the formation's collapse pushed them behind them, making them go faster. But even so, their speed is far not as fast as those monster beasts. But just when the first monster's claw was about to fall on Ji Yuli and the two of them, it suddenly withdrew it. It turned out that Ji Yuli and the other two had already run out of the valley. Roar! The monster beast looked at the three people outside the valley and roared for a while, then returned to its original position unwillingly. The palace in the valley that had just been destroyed had unexpectedly healed. Xuan looked at everything in the palace from a distance. A creature that is suspected of being a dragon and a horse, a spiritual species that is even more perfect than wuxia. And is the other broken stone tablet also in the palace? Xuan murmured in a low voice, lost in thought. Wait for me, I will definitely come again. Ha ha ha, finally got it. Ji Yuli, who was in a state of embarrassment, laughed happily. During this trip, he lost his sunset bow and Shangguan Ruonen's formation was damaged, which was a huge loss. But it's all worth it. Ji Yuli opened his palm and saw a spiritual seed that was as bright as glass and emitted colorful light. This spiritual seed is even stronger than the flawless spiritual seed. Shangguan Ruonen, who was watching from the side, had a look of surprise on his face. Although the flawless spiritual seed is transparent and has no impurities, it is not so bright. The level of this spiritual seed is probably much higher than the flawless spiritual seed. Shangguan Ruonen used the flawless spiritual seed to break through the spiritual realm, so he was very familiar with it. The spiritual seed she used back then was already rare in the world, but compared to the one in Ji Yuli's hand, it was still much inferior. Unfortunately, there are stronger spiritual seeds in there, but I can only get this one. Ji Yuli's eyes showed regret, but then he said with a smile. Greedy is not enough. This spiritual seed has exceeded my expectations and is completely sufficient. As he said that, he patted Shuan on the shoulder. When you reach the peak of your casting, come here to look for spiritual seeds. The quality of the spiritual seeds in the palace is frighteningly high. Shuan nodded. No matter what, he will definitely come back to this place, not just for the spiritual seed. But I'm afraid it will be a little difficult then. Shangguan Ruonen looked towards the valley, shook his head and said. The monsters here grow very quickly. We were able to deal with them easily last time we came here. But it's only been a few months, and with the help of the formation treasure this time, we almost couldn't come back. If some time passes, the monsters here will not know how far they will grow. Ji Yuli sighed when he heard the words. I hope the suppression of the secret realm can be lifted by then, otherwise this place will probably become a desperate place. Shuan, who was listening on the sidelines, was not so negative. Instead, he thought this was a good thing. If the suppression of the secret realm disappears, it means that the secret realm will be confiscated. He does not think that he can obtain the contents in it by then. It is better to be like now, although it is a little more difficult, but you can get everything by your own ability. Okay, there are about 10 days left before the competition begins. Let's search the secret realm for a while and then it's time to go back. Ji Yuli, who was in a good mood, said with a smile. I've got what I need. Whatever I encounter next will be yours. Shuan shook his head when he heard this and said. You go ahead, just give me the blood of the monsters here. I won't take anything else. At this time, many monsters were killed outside the valley, and the blood essence of the monsters here was enough for Shuan to practice. His realm is not high. Although Ji Yuli came here to seek help from him, he should not be too greedy. Shangguan Ruonen still has nothing. Furthermore, it seemed that Ji Yuli benefited the most from this trip, but only Shuan understood it. How terrifying are the two incomplete magical powers he obtained. Hearing what Shuan said, Ji Yuli smiled and nodded, said hello, and left with Shangguan Ruonen. There are still 10 days left, which should be enough to break through the hemolytic realm and reach perfection. Looking at the monster corpses lying around, Shuan sat down cross-legged, took out a piece of monster blood and swallowed it. He understood that the competition in 10 days was the key. If something went wrong, Daxia would suffer heavy losses. Now he has to break through as quickly as possible. Only in this way can he have a chance of survival. And as he swallowed the inexhaustible blood essence, Shuan's aura became clearly strong. Qi and blood flow faster in the body, and the strong essence fire continuously burns impurities in the body. The internal organs are stronger and the heart beats harder. The circulating blood is now exuding a faint brilliance, and it won't take long for it to completely transform. And at the same time, outside the secret realm, when they saw Yara escaping from the secret realm in disgrace with his incomplete team, everyone present was confused. At that time, more than 150 people from the Blood God clan and the Blood God sect entered in total, and they saw it with their own eyes. But in the blink of an eye, only about 60 people came out. Yara, what's going on? Gaowu's tone was full of chill, and his eyes were burning with anger. The Blood God clan brought this time are all elites, and each one of them is a future strongman of the Blood God clan. If he died in the competition, he would accept it, but now he has lost a lot even before he participated in the competition. This made Gaowu feel angry. Sir, the human race has already set up a trap in the secret realm. As soon as we entered, we were surrounded by a large number of monsters, and there were also a large number of formations lurking around. Yara looked in the direction of the human race and said angrily, "This is a human conspiracy. They knew we would come." The expressions of the city guard commander and the powerful human beings present remained unchanged, but a question mark arose in their hearts. Did their people do it? Then why didn't they receive the message? What a trick! Aren't you humans afraid of war? Gaowu spoke in a cold voice, his blood-colored eyes emitting a terrifying light, and the void was twisting and tearing. Oh, it was our human race that asked you to come to the secret realm. You yourself don't follow the rules, who's to blame? The guard commander sneered and responded without hesitation. It is true that the human race is weak, but it does not mean that it can be bullied by others. In the final analysis, the human race is responsible for this matter. Even if the Blood God clan suffered a great loss, it was caused by themselves. By the way, sir, this was found in the secret territory. It should have been left by the human race who was ambushing inside. A Blood God clan, covered in blood, took out a token. Gaowu stretched out his hand and shook it, and the token immediately appeared in his hand. Leaf. Gaowu spoke in a cold voice, his bloody eyes staring at Yi Yongfang, who had never spoken. He has an impression of this Yi family. But if he remembered correctly, the Yi family should be the partner of the Blood God clan. Could it be that this Yi family? I don't know what he thought of, and the cold light in Gaowu's eyes became even stronger. Yi Yongfang, who had always been a passerby and tried to minimize his presence, was stunned for a moment. When he saw the killing intent in Gaowu's eyes, he immediately became anxious. It's so pitiful that he doesn't know anything. The main reason for coming here this time was to see if anything went wrong with the tribesmen who came to kill Xuan. I thought that since the Blood God clan was here, Xuan would definitely die and the Yi family would not have any big problems. But this. Why are the Yi family and the Blood God clan facing each other? This is not. Yi Yongfang's mouth was dry and he hurriedly wanted to explain. But suddenly, Lin Chengyuan fell from the sky and came to Yi Yongfang's side. He stared at Yi Yongfang for a long time, and finally patted him on the shoulder and couldn't help laughing. Well done, Yi Shang. Quote, haha, I used to dislike the Yi family, but I didn't expect Chief Yi to be so far-sighted. Yes, if it weren't for Chief Yi, this secret realm would belong to the Blood God clan. Hee, I heard that the Yi family once cooperated with the Blood God clan. It's bullshit, it's just rumors. The powerful human beings on the side couldn't help laughing out loud when they saw the miserable situation of the Blood God clan. Yi Yongfang, who brought about such a perfect ending, expressed his unabashed admiration. Gaoru's bloody eyes were ignited with flames, and the look he looked at Yi Yongfang showed undisguised murderous intent. He realized that he and the Blood God clan seemed to have been tricked. Zhan Yi, who was standing next to him, looked at Yi Yongfang with strange eyes. Did the Yi family take action? This is so unexpected. However, Yi Yongfang was numb at this time. Hearing the congratulations in his ears, his mouth went dry for a moment, and he was so anxious that he was sweating. I didn't. Don't talk nonsense. He wanted to explain, but he couldn't get the words out of his mouth. How can he explain there are so many powerful human beings here? Who does he dare to explain to? The Yi family is indeed secretly cooperating with the Blood God sect, but this cannot be done openly. Yi Yongfang was confused for a moment. When Lin Chengyuan saw this, he couldn't help but laugh in his heart. The Yi family is strong, and with the internal and external troubles in Daxia, there is no time to spare to deal with the Yi family. Guan Wenshan originally thought that he could use the Yi family to go fishing, and when internal troubles were almost over, they could close the net together. This time is coming soon, but there are more moths in the human race than they imagined. If the Yi family were operated on, many people would be disturbed. Originally, this problem had troubled Guan Wenshan for a long time, but he didn't expect to find a way to solve it today. The Blood God clan is a pretty good fighter. Okay, very good. Let's wait and see you in the competition. Gaowu took a deep breath, suppressed the anger in his heart, and with a wave of his sleeves, he disappeared from the place with the remaining Blood God clan members. Zhan Yi took a deep look at Yi Yongfang, his eyes showing contemplation, and then his figure gradually disappeared. When the strong men of the human race saw this, they gradually left chatting and laughing. Only Lin Chengyuan looked solemnly as he looked at the blood god clans departing back. Because, this new generation of blood gods who came to participate in this competition are very strong. Within the secret realm, 9 days flew by in a blink of an eye. Shuan was still sitting cross-legged on the boulder outside the valley, practicing with his eyes closed. Compared to 9 days ago, his blood was boiling all over his body at this time. The sound of blood flowing in the meridians can be heard even from the side, like a rushing river. When another week ended, Shuan opened his dazzling eyes. Drink. With a soft drink, Shuan punched the boulder next to him. Boom. Rubbles flew and a boulder more than 10 meters high shattered directly under one punch. The red light under Shuan's feet shone brightly, and he seemed to be speeding forward like a swimming dragon. Up and down, left and right, erratic and at an alarming speed, Yulong Bu has already reached a great level of practice. Shuan selflessly squandered the energy and blood in his body, and it took half an hour to stop. What a strong blood! Shuan looked happy. Under the inexhaustible blood of the monster essence, although the increase in strength is not very strong, the endurance is terrifyingly high. Even the Yulong step, which consumes a lot of energy and blood, can be used continuously for half an hour. The surging qi and blood in the body are extremely pure, from the outside to the inside, from the subtle to the deep. Every drop of blood is like molten gold and iron, like mercury and lead. There is no interruption. It is obviously the result of melting blood. With such strong energy and blood, you should be able to try the first move of the immortal destroying spear, right? Thinking of this, Shuan's eyes showed anticipation. The immortal destroying spear he obtained has 3 styles. Broken Star, Guan Sun, Wushwang. Shuan didn't know how powerful these 3 immortal killing spears were. But the energy consumed by each move is extremely terrifying. Different from ordinary combat skills, as long as there is sufficient energy supply in the body, the immortal destroying spear can be used regardless of whether it is in the divine realm, spiritual realm, or physical realm. But even if the technique Shuan practiced was the blood sea technique with extremely strong qi and blood, he could only perform the first move. And it cannot perfectly exert the full power of the broken star. But Shuan was already content with this. Magical combat skills like the immortal destroying spear are far beyond what he can perform at his current level. The reason why he can use it in the physical realm is because this magical power seems to be born naturally and does not require practice at all. Only then can he perform the first form of broken star, by relying on his incomparable familiarity with this magical power. Shuan took a deep breath, mobilized the energy and blood in his body, and was about to experiment. But at this moment, 2 figures came quickly from a distance. Shuan is leaving, the competition will start tomorrow. Ji Yuli shouted loudly from a distance and came to Shuan in a blink of an eye. Seeing the blood boiling around Shuan, he raised his eyebrows and said with a smile. Isn't your practice pretty fast? The blood dissolving realm is perfect and you can catch up with this competition. Shuan chuckled and nodded. That's what I planned. I have to sign up quickly when I go back this time. Tomorrow is the day of the competition, and he has to get one of the 20 places in the blood fusion realm. Only in this way can we have the opportunity to come into contact with the blood god monument. Are you really going to sign up? Ji Yuli, who was smiling at first, could not help but frown slightly when he heard this. You should think about it carefully. This is a war with a foreign race, and we will fight to the death. Although you have perfected the blood dissolution realm, you have never practiced any combat skills, so your strength is still much lower than that of ordinary old students. This kind of competition will not be suspended because of the death of a genius. Shangguan Ruonan on the side also nodded and persuaded. You are still young now. You have just entered the academy and your combat power is still a bit weak. The use of formations is not allowed in such a competition. You'd better watch this competition. The old students from those schools have all been practicing for a long time, and they are all very powerful. Besides, the school will allow you to sign up as a freshman. There are many things at stake in this competition, you can't lose. It is true that Shuan is a genius, but his training time is still short and he has not mastered a few powerful combat skills. Although he is also a master of the hemolytic realm, his realm is a realm and his combat power is his combat power. The two are completely different. Even if Shuan is not afraid of death, the school also has its own considerations. In this competition, the stakes for both sides are not small. If they lose, the price they pay will be high. Xu Jingjing listened quietly, with no fear on his face. Before, he might have been a little worried. After all, the Blood God clan brought the best of the best. But now, Xu felt that the broken star was only half condensed in his body, but already had a destructive aura. A smile appeared on his face and he said, "Actually, I'm also very strong." Daxia, a school of all races. At this time, the 10,000 races school was different from the past. The entire school was quiet, and a solemn atmosphere enveloped the sky. A large number of students spontaneously came to the largest martial arts arena in the school. All the instructors have already been in place. Guan Wenshan and the heads of major departments are standing high in the sky waiting quietly. Numerous people in the sky, underground, and from all directions gathered together into a black mass, forming a general trend. This situation is like the silence before a rainstorm, composed and suppressed, waiting for an instant to explode. Today is the day when the Blood God clan comes, and they do it openly, entering through the main entrance of the 10,000 Races Academy. Daxia has been fighting for many years, and the 10,000 Races Academy has been established for a long time, but this is the first time that a foreign race has come to the door like this. This is a shame. The tutors and students here may be at odds with each other, and some may be enemies. But no matter what their status is, when the alien race comes, they are already the closest comrades. As time goes by, the situation of tens of thousands of geniuses becoming more and more majestic. Suddenly, Guan Wenshan, who was at the front, raised his head and narrowed his eyes slightly. Coming. As soon as the words fell, it was like the last ray of breeze blowing before a heavy rain, and the world suddenly became dark. Everyone looked up and saw a thick blood-colored fog approaching at great speed in the distance. Almost hundreds of blood gods, under the leadership of Gaowu, arrived at the gate of 10,000 Races School. But they had no intention of stopping, and actually wanted to pass directly over the gate of 10,000 Races Academy. Just waiting for this moment. And the roar that shook the earth and the sky, with a terrifying momentum, swept towards the people of the Blood God sect. People are born with power. People with the most noble status and high positions are born with the power of oppression. Nowadays, among the tens of thousands of geniuses, which one is not the pillar of Daxia? The condensation of tens of thousands of geniuses is terrifying. The individual cultivation of these students may not be worth mentioning, but now they are gathered together, it is enough to change the color of the world. Gaowu's expression changed instantly, and the surrounding strong men of the Blood God clan exploded with aura, trying to block the general trend coming from the shop. They don't want to stop. But if you don't stop, you must stop. Stop. Tens of thousands of Tianzhou students stepped forward in unison, shouting like a roaring wave, blocking everyone from the Blood God clan from outside the school. This step cannot be given up. The Academy of 10,000 Races is the face of Daxia. Even the human race has to land and walk to enter the academy. How can we let the foreign races walk in front of it? Get down. After a moment of stalemate, Gaowu had a gloomy face and led everyone from the Blood God clan to the entrance of the school and walked into the school. When Guan Wenshan and several department heads saw this, the coldness in their eyes eased slightly. In the first confrontation, the human race was victorious. This is important. Although it is only a competition between the younger generation, it is like marching to war, and morale is particularly important. If you are on human territory and are slapped in the face by a foreign race, how can you fight if your morale is low? Chief Guan, I've been waiting for you to come from afar. Is this how your human race treats guests? When he came closer, the first thing Gaowu did was to raise an army to accuse him. His tone was cold. God realm. Guan Wenshan no longer had the usual smile on his face. Instead, he had a tall and straight posture and a strong tone. Little guy, you Blood God clan has no one left, so let a small god realm lead the team. For a guy like you, on the battlefield of all races back then, I killed as many as 80, if not 100. As he spoke, his sharp eyes swept across the Blood God tribe, and finally settled on a stooped Blood God tribe member. Mordor, are you too old and timid? Hiding behind a small god realm, the guy who was known as the Demon Lord, on the battlefield, why is he so miserable now? Gaowu trembled with anger when he heard this, and the anger in his heart was burning. After he obtained the blood god eyes, no one had ever dared to speak to him like this. But just when he was about to say something, a skinny palm fell on his shoulder. Guan Wenshan, why are you sarcastic with me? Mordor slowly stepped forward, looked at Guan Wenshan and chuckled. For a person like you, why don't you just be a teacher behind the human race? Times have changed, and from now on it will be the world of young people. As he spoke, he patted Gaowu on the shoulder, turned to look at Guan Wenshan, and said with a playful smile. So what if I'm in the divine realm? I'll be able to kill you in the future. The expressions of several human clan chiefs, city guard commanders, and others changed slightly when they heard this. Who is Guan Wenshan? In recent years, Guan Wenshan has retreated behind the scenes, teaching and educating people, and few people know his true reputation. However, people who were contemporaries of Guan Wenshan all understood how domineering and unparalleled Guan Wenshan was, who was known to be invincible with his fists on the battlefield of all races. But now, a person of the same generation as Guan Wenshan actually threatens that a person in the divine realm can kill Mr. Guan in the future. There is no need to doubt whether it is true or not. If you dare to say such words on this occasion, you will definitely have a certain degree of confidence. Guan Wenshan narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at Gaowu carefully. When he saw Gaowu's deep blood-colored eyes, he couldn't help but quietly clasped his hands. Blood god eyes. Guan Wenshan's soft whisper contained undisguised murderous intent. It turned out to be a return to the ancestors of the bloodline. No one understands better than him how powerful the blood of the Blood God clan is. The current leader of the Blood God clan is a return to his ancestors who is so powerful that he is almost unkillable. Just this one person gave Da Sha a headache, but now there is another one. Mordor, are you not afraid that I will kill him directly? Guan Wenshan glanced at Gaowu coldly and suppressed the murderous intention in his heart. Being swept by Guan Wenshan's gaze, Gaowu trembled inwardly and couldn't help but look panicked. This human race is very strong. Haha, the strong men of Daxia are all on the battlefield. I'm afraid you won't be able to leave us alone. Mordor was not worried at all and said with a chuckle. This time the Blood God clan is in a sure-win situation. Even if the human race goes back on their word and wants to kill them, they still have enough time to activate the void teleportation. Guan Wenshan sighed in his heart. In the final analysis, there are still too few strong people in Daxia today. If he was confident enough, he would definitely keep Gaowu as his thorn in his side, even if he had to pay some price for it. But obviously, the time of heaven is not in the human race. Chief Guan, can the competition begin? Gaowu glanced around, looking at the tens of thousands of geniuses in the martial arts arena, and couldn't wait any longer. Tens of thousands of talented people, these will be the main force of Great Sha in the future. As long as these people are eliminated, Daxia will definitely face a fault within a few years and be swallowed up by the Blood God clan. But this is not the best time yet. This place is separated from the Blood God clan by a plain. If you want to open the void tunnel, you still need a long-term positioning link. If it could be opened directly, he would have let it go when he entered Daxia City. And this is also the reason why they held this competition, and the people who came were all elites. Humans are very smart. If they play tricks, they can be easily seen through. Body casting, bone forging, and blood dissolution, the three competitions lasted enough time for the Blood God monument to be positioned and teleported. As long as the void channel is open, no one will be able to interrupt it. Come in. After Guan Wenshan took a deep look at Gaowu again, he waved his hand gently. Suddenly, from the back of the crowd, a team of 20 people, a total of 3 teams, came to the field. Each of these people has a tall and straight figure, shining eyes, and majestic energy and blood around their body. They are all extremely talented people. Pop. Upon seeing this, Gaowu clapped his hands gently, and the same 3 teams behind him entered the field. With blood-colored skin, mysterious lines engraved on their bodies, and surging energy and blood all over their bodies, these people from the Blood God clan are no less powerful than the human race. Although some people were lost in the secret realm a few days ago, the impact was not significant. Because of the secret realm, many people from the Blood God clan came this time, enough to serve as substitutes. Although the 2 young teams didn't say a word, the field was already filled with the smell of gunpowder. Different races, in the same realm, competing with each other. This is a battle of honor. There is fire burning in everyone's eyes, and the overwhelming fighting spirit has filled their entire chests. Kill, kill, kill. Suddenly, all the students watching the battle shouted loudly. The roaring roar dispersed the white clouds in the sky, creating a storm that filled the sky. This cheering cry from the compatriots made the chests of these young people who were about to take the field explode. That's the benefit of being at home. Those who stand behind them will give them unparalleled courage. This competition cannot be won by loudness. Yara took a step forward, looked at the group of people in the casting realm with his ears out, and said with a disdainful smile. Just you trash. Believe me, I will tear you to pieces one by one in a moment. Looking at the 20 people in the casting realm, Yara showed a bloodthirsty smile on his face. The genius of the human race. For the Blood God clan who have mastered the immortal body of the Blood God, they are vulnerable to a single blow. Snort. There was a cold snort from the human race body casting realm team. The leader was about to speak, but suddenly there was a gust of wind howling from a distance. I heard dogs barking all the way away. Ji-Gen, the same goes for you. If a dog bites you, can you still bite the dog? The humans present couldn't help laughing out loud after hearing this. The casting realm team was also stunned for a moment, and then they saw Ji Yuli walking over casually. Which brother gives up his position? Ji Yuli didn't even look at the Blood God clan, he walked straight to the people in the casting realm and smiled. You, why didn't you die outside and come back now? A casting realm student came out cursing and went to the auditorium without looking back. His fighting spirit was about to explode just now, and his morale was at its highest. Who knew that Ji Yuli was back? He was originally a substitute, but now that the main player is back, of course he has to give up his position. But this tone in my heart is not happy at all. Aha, don't be angry brother, I'll help you kill a few more later. Ji Yuli waved his hand from a distance and smiled awkwardly. In fact, they didn't intentionally come back late, they only discovered it when they were preparing to leave the secret realm. Monsters all over the mountains and plains blocked the exit. He and Shu An's tricks to deceive the Blood God clan blocked themselves. They spent a whole night fighting before they came back. Since you are back, the position of captain will be handed over to you. If you lose, just wait and apologize. The former captain of the casting realm shook his head and stood behind. Although Ji Yuli was not popular in the academy, no one could deny his strength. If anyone wants to say who is the captain of this body casting realm, it must be Ji Yuli. I don't know whether to live or die. I hope you can still be so sharp-tongued later. Yara paid no attention to the ridicule. Some ignorant people, when he pushes everything with the immortal body of the Blood God, all voices will shut up. When Ji Yuli heard this, he took a deep look at Yara, with a serious look in his eyes, but then curled his lips. Madhu is going to fight again. At the same time, as Ji Yuli returned to the team, Shuankai arrived out of breath. But when I saw the 3 complete teams, I was immediately dumbfounded. Worry, are you late? Shu An cursed secretly. He is not Ji Yuli, he will naturally vacate his position as soon as he arrives. Who would give such an important position to a newly admitted freshman? We have to find a way. Shu An rolled his eyes and quietly touched the back of the blood-melting realm team. Ahead, how to spell. After seeing everyone arrive, Guan Wenshan looked at Garoya and asked. In a melee on the same territory, the race standing at the end wins. While Garoya spoke, he waved his sleeves. A 3-foot-sized monument, bright red in blood, with many strange moving patterns on it, fell in front of the field. The winning race can understand the Blood God monument and unconditionally enter the secret realm of the Academy of 10,000 Races. At the same time that Garoa spoke, a bloody stream of light shot into the Blood God monument. Suddenly, the Blood God monument emitted a faint light, and the lines engraved on it began to flow at an even faster speed. The strong human beings who witnessed this all frowned and looked at Garoa warily. Don't worry, it's just that the restrictions on the Blood God monument have been opened. Garoa raised the corners of his mouth and said lightly. When the strong men of the human race heard this, their eyes fell warily. It is normal for an inherited secret treasure like the Blood God monument to have restrictions. In addition, they were not familiar with the Blood God monument, so they did not pay too much attention to it. When Shu An saw this, he had a look of anxiety in his eyes, it was a ghost's restraint. Gaowu must have activated the void teleportation. It won't take long for the void channel to be established and it will be over. It's as urgent as it comes. The void passage cannot be established in a short time. Shuan took a deep breath. He couldn't be anxious now. If the Blood God clan sees a flaw and directly tears them apart, even if a fight breaks out, Daxia's strong men may not be able to stop it. The best way is to win the competition, so that you can approach the Blood God monument openly. Which realm comes first? Guan Wenshan frowned and glanced at the Blood God monument, then asked. For some reason, crises arose in his heart. But the people of the Blood God clan didn't do anything strange, so where did this crisis come from? The first battle, the casting realm. Gaowu spoke softly and decided on the first life and death battle. The human race is very strong, but he has no idea about the competition between the other two realms. But one thing he firmly believes is that they will definitely win in the casting realm. Yara has already understood the immortal body of the Blood God, which is impossible to defeat in the physical realm. The Blood God clan came to the Academy of 10,000 Races and was suppressed by the human race step by step. He wanted to breathe a sigh of relief. Thinking of this, Gaowu looked at Yara, with a sinister smile on his lips. Yara, tear them apart. Yara grinned, and the energy and blood in her body surged into the sky like waves. He led the team onto the martial arts stage, pointed at Ji Yuli who had just spoken. Get up here, get up here. Yara's body was full of energy and blood, and the mysterious lines engraved on her body were flowing rapidly. There was a wanton smile on his face, and there was no pressure at all from the impending life and death battle. The powerful strength rising continuously in his body made him full of confidence. The Blood God tribesmen behind Yara also looked at Ji Yuli and others provocatively. They are not afraid of losing and will not lose. These ignorant humans do not understand how powerful Yala is. Coincidentally, the human race thinks the same way. Idiot, the last time I dared to make such a noise with Ji Yuli, I haven't calmed down in 2 years. Ji Yuli, kill that fool. This kind of trash dares to scream in the human race. Don't hold back, Ji Yuli, let us see if your exploiting our resources is of any use. You fool, if you dare to lose, then spit out the resources you swallowed from me. At this time, there were loud shouts one after another in the human race's spectator seats. Some of these people admired Ji Yuli, some had been exploited by Ji Yuli, and some had resentment towards Ji Yuli in the past. But no matter what happened before, now everyone is shouting for Ji Yuli. Want to win. If they lose at the human race's home court, it will be a shame that the 10,000 Races Academy will never be able to wash away. Especially those students who had been exploited by Ji Yuli were all blushing and shouting loudly. Because Ji Yuli's powerful body also contains their strength. Ji Yuli listened to the waves of sound in his ears, and listened to the voices cheering for him, and the blood in his heart gradually boiled. He led the team onto the ring, stretched his muscles gently, looked at Yara with a bright smile. Thank you also. In all these years of joining the academy, this is the first time I'm so popular. You saw it too. He raised his head towards the excited crowd and said with a slight smile. I can't lose, otherwise, they will tear me into pieces. So, you will die miserably today. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, monstrous energy and blood rose from Guli's body, and powerful pressure enveloped the entire martial arts stage. Everyone behind Ji Yuli stood behind Ji Yuli. Although they didn't say a word, the energy and blood in their bodies exploded. War. Ji Yuli roared angrily, and with violent energy and blood, like Li Xian's sharp arrow, he instantly arrived in front of the Blood God clan. A powerful and heavy punch, carrying the power of the peak of the cast, went straight towards Yara. Ridiculously confident, Yara sneered. The energy and blood in his body was as deep as the sea. He punched out without dodging. Boom. The strong wind was raging, and the hard martial arts platform under their feet exploded into pieces. The two punches retreated as soon as they touched, and then a violent storm of attacks came. Ji Yuli and Yala's clothes were dancing wildly, and their violent energy and blood seemed to be flowing head-on. At the same time, the human race and the Blood God race behind the two people also fought together. There was no warm-up, no testing. The moment the two races came into contact, the battle was already fierce. Kill. A member of the Blood God clan roared angrily and punched a human through the chest. Come with me. The student's mouth was bleeding from the corner, but his face was not painful, but full of ferocity. Burst. Boom. Ignite the majestic energy and blood in the body, and gain powerful explosive power in an instant. The blood-burning technique, also known as the suicide technique, is something that every human being must learn on the battlefield. And now, students in the 10,000 Races Academy also use this suicide technique. Today's martial arts stage is the battlefield. The self-destruction set off a strong wind, which also took away the shocked Blood God clan. The blood dyed the martial arts stage red for an instant, and the anger and murderous intent in everyone's hearts boiled to the top. Kill. Kill these fools. Come on, senior brother. Even if you survive, I will kowtow to you. What the hell? Kill. Kill all these fools. The overwhelming roar filled the world. The cold corpse and the dazzling blood made no one feel scared this time. Even the new students, even the cowardly ones in the past, now have red eyes and roars, eager to play in person. Everyone cherishes their own life, but some things are above life. This is also the case. The sense of honor belonging to the race makes everyone forget life and death. Ahead, Guan Wenshan and other powerful human beings also stared at the two warring parties. But as they looked at it, the brows of these strong men frowned. The human race is at a disadvantage. Although they are all at the pinnacle of casting, the racial talent of the blood gods far exceeds that of humans. Naturally strong chi and blood, and a strong body, which occupies a great advantage in terms of physical condition. However, the most important thing is not this. There is something wrong with Yara, the leader of the blood god tribe. Guan Wenshan frowned slightly, a ray of light flashed across his eyes. Although the other members of the Blood God clan are slightly better than our human race, they are not without the power to fight. But that Yara, the blood and chi in his body are too strong, and his body is beyond the realm of caste body. He has cultivated the Blood God's immortal body, and he should have reached a small level of success. As soon as he finished speaking, the expressions of everyone present changed. The racial talent of the Blood God clan is that they are born with astonishingly strong energy and blood, and a powerful body. But for the Blood God clan who have understood the immortal body of the Blood God, their racial talents will be infinitely amplified. Cultivation to perfection, rebirth with a drop of blood, and immortality are not empty words. Although the Blood God immortal body cultivated by Yala is only at the physical level, and can only be considered a minor achievement, the immortal characteristic has already begun to show. In addition, the physical realm can only use chi and blood. How can we win? Isn't this a sure defeat? A strong human race man couldn't help but speak. No one spoke, and the atmosphere gradually became silent. They were originally very confident in the battle in the casting realm, but now, just as everyone was shaking their heads in disappointment, a faint voice sounded. Ji Yu Li will not be defeated. Everyone looked up and saw that the person speaking was Lin Chengyuan. Feeling everyone's gaze, Lin Chengyuan lowered his head and looked at the martial arts stage, where Ji Yu Li was covered in blood and in a very embarrassed state, but he said softly, "His will is stronger than you can imagine." Chapter 71. The fighting on the martial arts stage continues, and becomes more brutal as time goes by. The blood gods' racial talents are very strong, but the human race's fearlessness of death and super toughness are also terrifying. I can't beat you, but I won't let you live happily either. If your hand is broken, use your leg. The leg is broken, use your head. Even if the skull is cracked, I will bite you desperately and finally ignite myself and die together. The human race is different from all races. It does not have a strong bloodline, nor a super strong physique, nor the so-called bloodline returned to the ancestors. But even such a weak race has managed to gain a firm foothold among all races by virtue of its perseverance and spirit that is not afraid of death. The human race may lose this battle, but the shock it brings to these new generation blood gods is unparalleled. See it. Mordor, the true strongman among the Blood God clan, looked at the humans fighting on the arena and sighed. This is the human race, a race called crazy by all races. They are not afraid of fighting or death. They will even sacrifice their hard-earned realm and life for some ant-like tribesmen. They are very weak, so weak that they don't have any talents, but they are so strong that they can't be beaten to death. This kind of terrifying resilience and spirit is not the same for one human race, but for tens of millions of human beings. The young blood gods who followed were all shocked at this time. They have not yet been on the battlefield, and have not yet experienced the true power of the human race. In their perception, the human race without any talent is not their opponent at all. But what they saw and heard today overturned their understanding of the human race. I tell you this just to let you know your enemies correctly. But don't belittle yourself. Even if you have a strong will, your strength must be at the same level. Gaowu looked at the ring and said with a sneer on his face. Just like this battle, the human race is not afraid of death, but in the face of absolute power, they will still lose. Yara's blood god immortal body can make energy and blood flow endlessly. Look, the human race can't hold on anymore. On the martial arts stage, after a quick fight, only 15 people were left in the ring out of a total of 40 people. There are 8 from the blood god clan and 7 from the human clan. The human race relied on their unafraid of death to forcibly stabilize the situation. But this was only temporary. After seeing the human race's self-destruction, the blood god clan became vigilant. This also makes it difficult for the human race to drag the blood gods to death together even if they fight to the death. Gradually, the balance of victory began to tilt. There are 8 blood gods and only 5 humans. Made, grass. Ji Yuli was covered in blood, his eyes were bloodshot, and he quickly took a look at the battlefield. At the beginning of the battle, he can also help his fellow clan members with his speed. But as he continued to fight, the energy and blood in his body also dropped rapidly, and he had to concentrate on dealing with his enemies. What's even weirder is the blood god tribe opposite, Yara. Ji Yuli had a gloomy look on his face, looking at the injuries he had just caused on Yara's body, and they were once again recovering as before. His energy and blood were rapidly depleting, but Yara's energy and blood seemed to be endless. Even now, it was still extremely abundant, as if there was no consumption at all. Moreover, the other party's recovery speed is amazing. The injuries suffered by Yara will be quickly recovered by the strong blood and chi in the body, and she will be as powerful as a tiger in the blink of an eye. One side becomes weaker as we fight, and the other side becomes stronger as we fight. How can we win? Ha ha ha, how dare you get distracted? Are you trying to save your tribe? Yara laughed loudly, grabbed Ji Yuli's flaw, and punched him hard. Puff! Ji Yuli spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backwards. But he didn't pay attention. Instead, he used this thrust to reach the side of a blood god clan in an instant. Boom! Ji Yuli growled lowly and used his hands hard. Wow! The blood god clan was torn apart directly, and blood fell like rain. Without stopping, red light flashed under his feet, and he came to the 2 blood gods in an instant. With one punch, a blood god clan exploded from midair. The head of another blood god clan was held in Ji Yuli's hand, and it exploded in his fist. The remaining blood gods looked frightened and hurriedly ran behind Yara. Yara was able to block Ji Yuli because of the immortal body of the blood god. But for others, Ji Yuli killed them like a chicken or a dog. At this point, there were only 5 people left in the human race, and the blood god clan was forced to equalize by Ji Yuli, with only 5 people left. You are all alive, I can only help you one last time. Ji Yuli spit out a mouthful of blood and glanced at the people around him. The remaining 5 people are the strongest. Just now, the blood god clan had a numerical advantage, so they were suppressed and beaten. Now Ji Yuli forced a break and gave them a chance to survive. What do you care about us? We will hold them back until we die. If you lose, we will be doomed. Now that you've been forced to fight, you can't beat me, so how can you do this? A human race was covered in blood and roared with red eyes. Ji Yuli looked at the blood god clan across from him with a calm expression and said nothing. Ji Yuli, can you lead us to win? The only remaining female student looked at Ji Yuli and asked. This person is also an acquaintance. It is Zhou Qing, the senior who brought Shu and others into the house. As soon as these words came out, several people looked at Ji Yuli. Yala was too strong, just like Ji Yuli, so strong that they had no confidence to resist. If Ji Yuli can't beat him, then today's battle will be lost. Hey! Ji Yuli wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, glanced at Zhou Qing, and smiled. Shao Qinger, can you see that I have lost in the same situation? He walked slowly but firmly towards Yara, and said without looking back. In the battle of the same realm, I will not lose today, nor will I lose in the future. Who am I? I am Ji-Yu Li. The invincible Ji-Yu Li. Boom. In an instant, light emerged from Ji-Yu Li's body. A layer of bright, soft light enveloped his whole body. Seeing this scene, the top leaders of the human race stood up suddenly, with shock on their faces. The second level of the state of mind, the state of self-understanding. In this state, you can understand yourself and realize your true self, laying the foundation for future martial arts and the way forward. The second level of the state of mind, which belongs to the late stage of the divine state, can be understood by Ji-Yu Li just now. It is no exaggeration to say that he is extremely talented. But what really shocked them was that the true self that Ji-Yu Li realized was actually a state of invulnerability. This artistic conception is too strong and too big. If Ji-Yu Li can truly go on undefeated and break through the realm of divine enlightenment, he will be another great Shah god of war. Only then did they understand what Lin Chengyuan's so-called super will was. Ji-Yu Li's cultivation aptitude is not as good as Zhou Can's, and his physique is not as strong as Yao La's, but his state of mind is invincible. I only have the power of one punch. Ji-Yu Li's body was shining, he looked at Yala and smiled. But this punch will kill you. After the words fell, all the energy and blood in Ji-Yu Li's body gathered in this punch. Boom. The light bloomed, and the majestic energy and blood carried in that punch was wrapped in the bright light, like a beam of light, piercing straight through Yara's chest. This punch was too fast and too strong. Can't stop it, can't avoid it. Yara lowered his head in astonishment. On his majestic chest, there was a transparent hole. The powerful resilience of the blood god's immortal body seemed to have failed in an instant, and the power in his body was gradually leaving him. There was doubt in Yara's eyes. He was about to ask something, but the remaining light spot on his chest rose up like a flame. There was no scream, no blood, Yara disappeared into the ring like a beam of light. Seeing this scene, everyone was silent and stared blankly at this scene. Only Ji-Yu Li turned his head stiffly, glanced at the stunned people behind him, and murmured softly. The rest is up to you. Before he finished speaking, his body fell straight behind him. The rest of the people rushed forward frantically and caught Ji-Yu Li's body before he landed. Don't worry, we will win this game. The words of a few people are not serious, but the determination within them is overwhelming and unstoppable. Zhou Qing and others gently placed the unconscious Ji-Yu Li on the ground, and then looked at the remaining 4 Blood God clan members. No one spoke, but the killing intent in their eyes was as real as anything, and the belief in their hearts was unstoppable. At the cost of being seriously injured and unconscious, Ji-Yu Li forcibly eliminated the Blood God clan's advantage. If they still can't win, they won't let themselves go. This battle must be won. Kill. Following a hysterical, all-consuming roar, Zhou Qing and others rushed forward as if they were crazy. Ahead, Guan Wenshan, Lin Chengyuan and others looked at Ji-Yu Li who fell to the ground, and they understood that this was a victory. The remaining blood gods were already in a state of confusion because of Yara's death. On the other hand, the human race was so powerful that this was already a win-win situation. Unexpectedly, Ji-Yu Li, at his age, has already been promoted to the second level of mental state, and he is still in an invincible state of understanding. This qualification is exactly the same as Zhou Can's, or even stronger. A strong human race man looked at the battlefield and couldn't help but sigh. It took 2 years to cast the body, and his level has fallen behind, but the solid foundation is amazing. As long as you break through the physical realm, you will soar into the sky. I'm afraid it won't be long before the human race will gain a super powerful god realm. Everyone secretly praised Ji-Yu Li's talent. Everyone was convinced by Ji-Yu Li's talent. Even the students who had been exploited by Ji-Yu Li for many years now had admiration in their eyes. The resources I spend can cultivate hundreds of castes, but killing hundreds of castes by myself is like killing chickens and dogs. Ji-Yu Li's arrogant words are still fresh in my mind, and some people might have dismissed them at that time. But today, Ji-Yu Li relied on his strong strength to prove that he had not wasted any of the training from the academy. What about the inexhaustible energy and blood? What about the super resilience? The immortal body of the blood god, embraced as a holy body by the blood god clan, will still fall at his feet. Ji-Yu Li, who had been scolded by the academy for 2 years, conquered everyone today. My senior brother is really strong. Seeing that terrifying punch, Xuan couldn't help but praise it. He thought that Ji Yuli had lost his weapon and his strength would decline. Unexpectedly, what made Ji Yuli truly powerful was never a perfect body, but a super strong state of mind. But Xuan was a little confused at this time. Can the cultivation of mental state make one's strength increase so horribly? He has now reached the first level of fearless state of mind. This state of mind is very strong, and he can be fearless. No matter he faces any enemy, he can display his 200% state to face the enemy. But although such a state of mind is strong, it does not produce a qualitative change, and it does not help much with one's own strength. But Ji Yuli's second state of mind, the state of self-knowledge, had just exploded with power far beyond his own level in an instant. This qualitative leap made Xuan feel puzzled and at the same time a little hopeful. When will he reach the second state of mind? What artistic conception will he realize? Can the artistic conception of enlightenment also bring about qualitative changes in himself? After the competition, you need to recuperate a lot about what the state of mind is and how to advance. But now, let's get through this first. Xuan glanced at the blood god monument. At this time, the free lines in the inscription became faster. He understood that the void passage was about to open. At the same time, when Yara fell, everyone in the blood god clan was quiet, and the silent atmosphere was a bit scary. Yara, who had comprehended the immortal body of the blood god, actually lost the game they thought they would win. The defeat of this battle made Gaowu's face look gloomy, and the void around his eyes was twisting and tearing. Even Mordor, who had always been calm, now showed murderous intent. This murderous intention is not because of Yara's death. The blood god clan does not have as rich emotions as the human race, and the dead are worthless. What made him really have the intention to kill was Ji Yuli, who clearly understood the invincible situation. Mood, before the emergence of human race, was a strange word. Because all races do not cultivate the state of mind, they believe more in their powerful racial talents. Mental state cultivation is an alternative system developed by the human race and unique to the human race. However, not all races can practice this system, only a small portion of the human race can understand it. This system does not look at qualifications or resources, but only at understanding oneself, the world, and the way of heaven. Wanzu has also studied the human race's state of mind cultivation method, but there is no way to start. But all races know that all races that can understand the artistic conception are rare and proud of heaven. When these people grow up, the destructive power they can cause is astonishing. However, among this type of people, because of the different artistic conceptions and the strength of their power, they are divided into several levels. But no matter how you divide it, the artistic conception of invincible is the top sequence. This artistic conception is too strong and too big. Mordo cannot imagine how terrifying such a character would be if he grew up. The way he looked at Ji Yuli at this time was just like the way Guan Wenshan looked at Gaowu. Frightened and murderous, such a life would be a disaster in a hostile race. Fine. Quote, Moldo looked at the unconscious Ji Yuli with deep eyes and murmured softly. You won't survive today. When the void passage is established, I will destroy you even if I let Guan Wenshan go. A non-hostile environment. He glanced at the blood god monument, thought of something, and chuckled. The human race is really rich in blessings. Unfortunately, the protagonist in this life is not you, the human race, but... Mordor's voice faded into inaudibility. The blood god clan is not weak, but there are too many monsters among all races. Even the blood god clan is nothing more than a vassal. But, he looked at Gaowu beside him, and couldn't help but smile on his face. The blood god clan, whose blood has returned to their ancestors, can still be at the forefront even among all races, not to mention that the part they returned to their ancestors is the most mysterious pair of pupils. The blood god clan has a promising future. The battle on the martial arts stage ended quickly. Under the desperate attack of Zhou Qing and others, the blood god clan, which had been in a state of confusion, retreated step by step, and was finally torn apart on the spot. The human race is undefeated. As a roar rang out from the audience, overwhelming cheers rang out. At this time, no one was stingy with their praise and applause, everyone was shouting desperately. The remaining humans were covered in blood, and it took all their strength to just stand. But they still helped Ji Yuli and stood with his head held high, like a returning hero. Well done. Guan Wenshan flashed into the field and looked at several people with chuckles on their faces. Go back to the rear and rest, and leave the rest to others. As he finished speaking, he waved his big sleeves, and those human beings who died tragically were carefully lifted up by a force and fell into the coffins prepared in advance. Before these people came to the stage, they were all determined to die. 60 people fought and prepared 60 coffins. A generous burial. Inform the family members, go to the martyrs' cemetery, and have the inscription engraved on the young hero's soul. Guan Wenshan's voice was low but powerful. These young people are fighting for the school, fighting for Daxia, and fighting for the human race. Although they have never been on the battlefield, they are called martyrs. All the people present stood up and watched the coffin leave. Compared to the Blood God clan who ignored their dead members, the human clan showed the greatest respect to their dead compatriots. Ridiculous emotions. Looking at the solemn expressions and solemn postures of the human race, Gaowu couldn't help but sarcastically said, "If I had known that I might die on stage, why would I still be acting like this? If you die, you will die. Your skills are just inferior to others." When all the races heard this, they glared at Gaowu. There is a saying in the human race that death is a big deal, not to mention that these young people who died were fighting for the human race. You Blood God clan won't understand, because you don't have a heart. Guan Wenshan glanced at Gaowu indifferently, and then looked towards the human race. Bone Forging Realm, come out. As soon as he finished speaking, 20 young people with tall and straight postures came to the field with an indomitable momentum. The death of the seniors did not make them feel afraid. On the contrary, the burning desire to fight burned in their chests. If the seniors can win, so can they. On the other hand, look at the Blood God clan. Losing the last win-win situation made these blood gods in the bone forging realm look panicked. Especially when they saw the 20 academy students who were so eager to fight, a hint of fear emerged in their hearts. When the powerful human beings above saw this, they couldn't help but smile. If nothing else goes wrong, the human race will definitely win this competition. Although the realm is the same, the morale of both sides is different. Morale sounds illusory, but it plays a decisive role in the battlefield of life and death. However, there was no panic on Gaowu's face at this time. He stepped forward and came to the top of the Blood God clan participating in the battle. He looked at Guan Wenshan and chuckled. You're right, the Blood God clan, have no heart, so I don't understand the emotions of your human race. But it turns out it's useless. The only value of the dead is to make the living stronger. Same as now. As he spoke, Gaowu's blood-red eyes bloomed with brilliance, looking at the blood gods who died tragically in the ring. In an instant, the bodies of those blood god tribesmen began to decompose, and the power of blood in their bodies was gathered in the air by an invisible force. Just in the blink of an eye, the dead blood gods disappeared, and a large ball of pure blood radiating light floated in the air. When Guan Wenshan and the powerful human beings present saw this, their expressions changed, and a bad feeling arose in their hearts. Really, after the pure chi and blood, which can be called the treasure of the human body, appeared, Gaowu waved his sleeve, and immediately more than half of the blood essence fell on the blood gods who were preparing to join the battle. Roar! Painful roars rang out, and the blood god tribesmen all showed pain on their faces, as if their bodies were about to burst. When Gaowu saw this, lines flowed in his blood-colored pupils, and a strange power enveloped everyone. In an instant, the incompatible essence and blood turned into the most essential power and was instilled in the bodies of those blood gods. In an instant, the auras of the 20 blood gods clearly surged. However, in just a short moment, these 20 blood gods opened their eyes, and their energy exploded, their strength greatly increased. How is this possible? A strong human race man saw this and said in disbelief. Even if the blood is connected, how can the power of other people's blood be forced on others? Gaowu's methods were obvious to everyone present. That is not simply taking out the essence and blood from the corpse, but directly extracting all the blood power hidden in the corpse. This means that those blood gods who have absorbed blood essence will not destroy the foundation they have laid because of the forceful infusion of power. On the contrary, because the power of blood is integrated together, there is no hidden danger in the enhancement of their power, and their potential is greatly increased. This sounds simple, but no one has ever done it. Because this point alone can create countless powerful blood gods. Good idea. Guan Wenshan stared hard at Gaowu's blood-red pupils and said every word through gritted teeth. The murderous intention in his heart could no longer be restrained at this time. This Gaowu bloodline has returned to its ancestors and is so powerful. If it grows up. Lin Chengyuan didn't know when he came to Guan Wenshan's side, and behind the hand on his back, a blue long sword appeared. He looked at Guan Wenshan, as if asking if he wanted to take action. Gaowu's terror made him feel cold in his heart. Call. Guan Wenshan looked around at the crowds of students, and finally suppressed the murderous intention in his heart. You can't do anything here. What? The human race doesn't dare to go up there. Muldo quietly came to Gaowu, looked at the silent Guan Wenshan and chuckled. In a life or death battle, there is no such thing as admitting defeat. Of course, if you have the means, you can also improve the strength of the team, as long as it does not exceed the body forging realm. Guan Wenshan remained silent, and the powerful human race members also remained silent. In a life and death battle, formations are not allowed, weapons beyond one's own level are not allowed, and elixirs are also not allowed. What you need to fight is physical strength, understanding of combat skills, and fighting experience. Forcibly improving the team's strength and potential. Humans can't do that. But if they go up to fight like this, the human race will almost be defeated, and the strength of the blood gods has increased horribly. At the same time, we cannot admit defeat in a life and death battle, in other words. Going on stage means going to die. Children. Guan Wenshan looked at the students in the audience and the young faces, and was speechless for a moment. What on earth was he going to do to tell these young children that they were going to die on stage? In his life, he has killed many aliens and encountered many difficulties. But there has never been an experience that was so powerless. Old Guan. Lin Chengyuan clenched the sword tightly in his hand, and the coldness in his eyes seemed to burst out. A slight fluctuation of breath made the void around him crack. Guan Wenshan's eyes flashed with extreme struggle. War. The front line will face the approaching armies of the Heavenly Clan and the Blood God Clan, resulting in countless casualties. No fight. They, the strong ones, could only watch their own people die. Struggle, hesitation, difficulty deciding. That uncomfortable feeling seemed to tear my heart into two pieces. Everyone present was quiet, heavy breathing could be heard one after another, and the atmosphere was extremely depressing. But suddenly, a hearty chuckle sounded. The person headed by the casting realm actually jumped to the ring at this time. He stood tall and straight, looked at all the humans who were looking at him with his head held high, and said with a smile. I didn't expect that I would be paid attention to by so many people at the same time. It's such an honor. Remember my name, friends, my name is Zhao Changfeng. He looked at Guan Wenshan, shrugged and said with a smile. My brothers and I are waiting for the governor's order to go on stage, but you haven't spoken yet, so I have no choice but to come up on my own first. You don't think we are afraid of death if we don't go on stage, do you? After finishing speaking, he looked at the neatly lined up team members and laughed. Brothers, let the governor and all our compatriots see if we are people who are afraid of death. Today, who dares to die with me, Zhao Changfeng? Wow! As soon as the voice fell, the remaining 19 people stepped onto the ring at the same time without any hesitation. There was silence between heaven and earth, except for the resolute but heroic laughter that resounded in all directions. Huang Qi, go die today. Wang Wenshuan, go die today. Li Zhenghao, go die today. Quote. There were words of death, and faces full of vitality. In the midst of what seemed to be a ceremony of singing and drinking, a raging fighting spirit that changed the color of the world appeared on those bone-forging realm humans. All the tribesmen watched silently, their eyes red and their fists clenched. After the last bone-forging realm member died, all the human beings present erupted into a roar that could almost overturn the world. Kill. The roars in the spectators' seats resounded throughout the world, and chilling killing intent spread throughout the 8 directions. How they want to go straight to the end and leave those blood gods on this land forever. But this is a life and death battle, and victory or defeat is related to the game between two races. Even if he is angry, he can only watch. In the land of the human race, the massacre of fellow human beings forced the human race to fight even though they knew they would die. Depression, anger, hatred. The suffocation in the chest made everyone's eyes red. Brothers, you won't lose if you kill one, but you will gain if you kill two. I, Zhao Changfeng, will go too. With a heroic laugh, Zhao Changfeng, the captain of the bone-forging realm, rushed away with the intention of death. The blood god tribesmen, whose strength had greatly increased, had sneers on their faces. They were preparing to fight Zhao Changfeng in a few head-on moves to test their soaring strength. But who would have expected that Zhao Changfeng came with a smile on his face without any hesitation? Burst. Boom. Zhao Changfeng's whole body of energy and blood condensed and ignited in an instant. He tried his best and hit the strongest blow in his life. The arena collapsed, 2 blood gods died immediately, and 3 blood gods vomited blood and fell back. Haha, Captain, you've made a lot of money, I'll do it this time. Before the sound of Zhao Changfeng's self-destruction could completely subside, the team members following him caught up again. Burst. This hoarse shout seemed to open the last passage of life. Violent roars were heard one after another, constantly resounding in the hearts of everyone present. These bone-forging realm team members have no intention of fighting with the Blood God clan. When they took the stage, they had already prepared their strongest attack, the blood-burning technique. Seeing this, the powerful human race men present clenched their fists in silence. This battle is Daxia's shame and their incompetence. These young people are using their lives to continue the future of Daxia. I lost. Guan Wenshan couldn't help but closed his eyes and sighed. The humans lost. Not just this one, but Daxia completely lost this gambling battle. When Gaowu displayed that terrifying pupil technique, Daxia had no possibility of victory in this battle. Since Gaowu can enhance the strength of the bone-forging realm, it can also enhance the hemolysis realm. How to fight this? How to win? They had calculated everything, but they never expected that the Blood God clan had such a strange method. Lin Chengyuan on the side frowned and quickly searched for a solution in his mind. But after much thought, there was no progress. Before the 2 clans settled on the bet, it had already been stipulated. Formations, elixirs, weapons, and all external forces are not allowed to be used. Because in this case, it will directly become a battle between the 2 races. Who doesn't have a stronger formation? Who doesn't have a variety of special effects elixirs? Not to mention weapons, when it comes to racial games, let alone divine weapons, even Taoist weapons can be found. Therefore, both sides stipulated that they could only fight with their own strength. But this is where Gaowu's pupil skills are strong. He did not directly improve the strength of his tribe. Instead, it enhances its potential and strengthens its bloodline to promote a substantial increase in power. Lin Chengyuan thought hard about methods like this for a long time, but could not find a way to deal with them. Finally, he put aside his complicated thoughts, looked at the dying humans on the ring, gritted his teeth and said, "How long until the support from the spiritual realm arrives?" He couldn't help but start killing directly. Since he became successful in cultivation, he has never felt so aggrieved. Soon, Guan Wenshan looked cold and hard, and glanced at the people from the Blood God clan. The foreign races in the spiritual realm are also putting pressure, but they have also sent many strong men over. In one day, the crisis on the front line can be solved. The human race is divided into 3 major domains, the Daxia domain, the spiritual domain, and the Lintian domain. The Daxia territory is the original realm of the human race, and it is also the farthest place on the Blue Star Plain. If foreigners want to come to the Daxia territory, the battlefield of all races, they must at least break through the blockade of the spiritual territory and the Lintian territory. This also means that the pressure on Daxia territory is actually not great. In the past, the only foreign race that they fought against was the Blood God clan. The other Daxia powerhouses are mostly in more dangerous places like the spiritual realm and the Lintian realm. But some time ago, the Celestial clan secretly sneaked into the Daxia territory behind the human clan by some unknown means, which led to the dilemma on the front line. However, this predicament is only temporary. As long as we survive these few days, the strong men sent by the spirit realm will arrive soon. I can't swallow this breath. Lin Chengyuan let out a sigh of relief and said in a cold voice. After this matter is over, I will contact the teacher, and I will definitely go to the Blood God clan for a visit then. When Guan Wenshan heard this, he immediately became excited and quickly looked at Lin Chengyuan. The matter is not that serious. When your master comes, it will become a big deal. I don't know how many pairs of eyes of all races are staring at him. Even if he destroys the Blood God clan, new alien races will come to the Great Sha territory to treat the symptoms but not the root cause. You'd better ask your teacher to stay in Lintian territory, where he is needed more. Guan Wenshan wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. Lin Chengyuan's teacher, the originator of the perfect department, Su Chengli, is simply a lunatic. Terrifying strength, extremely defensive, and reckless in doing things. As long as you dare to mess with me, no matter whether you are a god or a demon, I will kill you first. In fact, the first disciple of the perfect department was not Lin Chengyuan, but another proud man of heaven. However, he was unlucky. On the battlefield of Lintian domain, he was attacked by the cursed spirit clan and died on the battlefield. Su Chengli received the news that day and directly entered the cursed spirit clan interface with one sword and one man. Faced with the siege of more than a dozen Dao realm experts, the world was shattered by the killings, and the cursed spirit clan was almost wiped out. So far, the tradition of perfect protection has been passed down. With that person's temperament, if he knew that the Great Sha territory was so humiliated today, he would probably have another incident involving the cursed spirit clan. It's too late, I've already sent the message to the teacher. Lin Chengyuan glanced at Guan Wenshan and said lightly. He is a sword cultivator and does not know so many twists and turns. He only remembered that the teacher said that if there was anything that could not be resolved, he should be summoned directly. Just like when Ji Yuli summoned him, the fine traditions of the perfect department were passed down from generation to generation. Guan Wenshan, it's over, Daxia is going to be completely lively. He also wanted to summon the old governor as soon as possible. If something like this happened in the school, he might not be able to withstand it. But that's okay. Guan Wenshan looked at the arena that had gradually calmed down, his eyes filled with cold light and murderous intent. You lost the bet against the human race, but your Blood God clan's destiny is also over. The Blood God clan still doesn't understand. When the behemoth of the human race showed its fangs, they didn't even have the right to regret it. The fight in the bone-forging realm ended quickly. There wasn't much fighting at all in this fight, only the constant sound of explosions as everyone died. In the end, the human race was completely wiped out, leaving only 10 members of the Blood God clan. Gaowu had a sneer on his lips, not surprised by this. The Blood God's pupils shined brightly, and the blood of the dead Blood God clan member was extracted again and forced into the bodies of the people in the Hemolytic Realm team. Ha ha! A cheerful laugh amidst the pain rose from the ranks of the Blood God clan who were about to join the battle. That feeling of speed and power made them look at the human race with ridicule in their eyes. If they win in the bone-forging realm, they will also win in the blood-dissolving realm. This gambling battle is about to come to an end. This is just the beginning. Looking at the rapidly flowing lines in the Blood God monument, Gaowu and Mordo had hidden smiles on their faces. Although the waiting time for teleportation across planes is a bit long, after 2 competitions, the connection between the Blood God monuments has been completely linked. In another 10 minutes, the Void Channel will be completely established. By that time, no one will be able to interrupt the Blood God clan's teleportation. The front of the human race. Guan Wenshan came to the ring and saw that there was not even a whole body of the team members, and his teeth almost broke. He glanced at the Blood God clan coldly without saying anything. He gently waved his sleeves and the broken corpses fell into the coffins that had been prepared. Everyone present watched quietly, with sorrow in their eyes. The feeling of dying like this made everyone feel aggrieved, and it wasn't just this one. Everyone looked at the team in the blood-dissolving realm. The human race still has one more battle to fight, it's still a battle to the death. Brothers, it's our turn. At the front of the Hemolytic Realm team, the captain, Zhang Ling, looked back with a smile, without any fear on his face. Senior has set a good example for us, are you afraid? Don't be afraid. The uniform shouts resounded throughout the sky, and the eyes of these young people had a blazing light. Okay, then let's. Zhang Ling laughed loudly and was about to go on stage to die, but the next moment. Boom! A small sound interrupted his words. The noise came from the rear of the team, and everyone looked back in surprise. I saw a young man with a knife in his hand, and he hit the last person in the team on the neck hard. The team member was about to go on stage with a determined face, but suddenly he fainted and fell to the ground. Looking at the unfamiliar face, Zhongling and the team members all looked dull. What's happening here? Why are you attacking one of your own people before you even get on stage? Also, who is this young man? Why take action against members who participated in the war? At this time, even Guan Wenshan and Lin Chengyuan looked over. When they saw the person who did it, the two of them raised their eyebrows slightly. Xuan, they still remember this youngest disciple of the perfect department very clearly. Not long ago, he went on a killing spree in the entrance examination and moved into the perfect system with a crushing attitude. But at that time, Xuan was still in the body tempering realm, but now he has reached the blood dissolving realm. Although I am surprised, this is not the point. Why did Xuan choose to attack the students participating in the war at this time? This man is my eldest brother, and I don't want him to die. Looking at everyone's gaze, Xuan could only bite the bullet and say. He didn't have a suitable reason to join the team participating in the war, so he could only resort to evil tactics. So, I took the stage in his place. Xuan spread his hands and walked naturally into the team. Nonsense. Lin Chengyuan spoke in a low tone and came to Xuan's side. You have just joined the academy. Although you have perfect blood dissolution, your combat power is too weak. The use of formations is not allowed in this battle. Do you want to go up and die? Even if you die, how valuable can you be? It's a good thing that young people are passionate, but only by living can you avenge them. You are wasting your talent in formation. Of course Xuan's eldest brother Lin Chengyuan would not believe such nonsense. When Xuan joined the perfect department, his identity and background had already been investigated clearly. This is just an excuse for Xuan to take the stage. Senior brother, remember to protect me later. Xuan glanced at the shimmering blood god monument, with a look of eagerness in his eyes. He had to participate in this competition, otherwise he would not be able to comprehend it even if he had the chance to get close to the blood god monument. When he resolved the disaster in Jin Lincheng, he received a total of 23,000 destiny points, and he still had 7,000 destiny points to unlock his enlightenment again. These 7,000 destiny points need the lives of the blood god clan to make up for it. Thinking of this, Xuan didn't waste any time and stepped onto the ring first in a flash. Zhong Ling looked at Lin Chengyuan with a questioning look on his face. Protect him. Lin Chengyuan pondered in his mind, what did Xuan mean by this? In a life and death battle, even if it was a fatal situation, outsiders were not allowed to intervene. How could he protect Xuan? Unless, Lin Chengyuan's eyes flashed, and he looked at Xuan, who was a little anxious, thoughtfully. After taking the stage and cooperating with Xuan, this battle will still be fought. Lin Chengyuan quickly made a decision and chose to believe Xuan. No one who can become a genius is a fool. With Xuan's powerful formation talent, he didn't believe that Xuan would go on stage even though he knew he would die. Good. Zhong Ling's eyes lit up slightly when he heard this and he nodded heavily. He didn't know why Lin Chengyuan said this, but these words undoubtedly gave them hope of victory. Go on stage. With a soft drink, Zhong Ling led his team members onto the ring and stood behind Xuan. This scene surprised everyone present. What's going on? Why is Xuan the captain? Isn't he just in the body tempering state? Xuan, that freshman who just joined the school. Why did he get on stage? Isn't this nonsense? How can a new student be the opponent of those blood gods? In the academy, Xuan is somewhat famous. When he first entered the government and was killed during the examination, he was bleeding like a river, which made many people remember him. But because of this, everyone is confused. Why can a new student be on stage, and why can he become the captain of the hemolytic realm? For a moment, there was an uproar in the spectator seats. Captain, how do we fight? Zhong Ling came behind Xuan and asked in a low voice. The other members didn't speak, but they all focused on Xuan. They also didn't understand why a captain was parachuted in, but they remembered Lin Chengyuan's words clearly, and they had to cooperate with Xuan in this battle. Why cooperate with Xuan? Why does Xuan order them? How can a new student lead them to victory? They don't know all this. But they understand that there are military orders on the battlefield, and even if they are asked to die, they cannot frown. Now they only hope that Shuan really has some way to let them win. Shuan said nothing as he quickly scanned the Blood God clan's team, his thoughts changing. There were less than 7 minutes left, and he didn't have time to waste time with the Blood God clan. This battle must end as quickly as possible. Call. Shuan took a deep breath and had an idea in his mind. He looked at Zhongling and the team members behind him and said firmly, "No matter what method we use, let the 20 people from the Blood God clan be on the same level. Whether it's horizontal or vertical, as long as they are in a row for a moment, leave the rest to me." Yes, Shuan does not intend to engage in a war of attrition, but to kill all the blood gods with one blow. This was almost impossible before, but now, Shuan was immersed in the 2 terrifying magical powers he had acquired not long ago. Immortal Destroying Spear, Human Emperor Seal. The power of the Human Emperor's Seal was so terrifying that even if he exhausted all his strength, he would not be able to deliver a single blow. But the first form of the Immortal Destroying Spear, Broken Star, can condense into a simple outline. He only has the power of this one blow, but he believes that this one blow can send away all the blood gods. But before that, we need to create an opportunity. An opportunity for the Broken Star to hit all the blood gods. Let the Blood God clan be on the same page. Zhongling and all the team members looked at Shuan at the same time, with shock in their eyes. None of the people present were mediocre, and they immediately understood Shuan's thoughts. But this method is too difficult. First, Shuan needs to have the means to kill all the blood gods in an instant. Secondly, although it is difficult to keep the Blood God clan in a straight line, they are somewhat sure of it. What is really difficult is Shuan's control of timing. The blood gods are not puppets. They may be pulled to a horizontal line by them unconsciously, but this time will not exceed a second. In such a chaotic battlefield, one must have an overview of the overall situation and seize the opportunity, while one must gather magical powers and be ready to take action at any time, and at the same time, one must prevent the entanglement of the Blood God clan. Difficult, too difficult. Even if you are multitasking, it is difficult to seize the fleeting opportunity. "I can do it, believe me." Shuan didn't say much, but the determination in his eyes was clearly visible. Zhongling and others were silent for a moment, then took a deep breath and nodded heavily. "Don't worry, even if I wait for death, I still have to make these fools stand neatly horizontally and vertically." Zhongling and the others strode forward, the thick blood surging around them crazily. Opposite them were the members of the Blood God clan who had just appeared on the stage with disdain and ridicule. Kill. Needless to say, as soon as the 2 sides met, they started fighting fiercely. Shuan stood behind everyone, with the majestic energy and blood of the blood fusion realm in his body flowing rapidly. "Wake up, Ning." While drinking lightly in my heart, my energy and blood began to circulate, and I used the first form of the Immortal Destroying Spear, Shattering Star. The majestic energy and blood condensed crazily in the body, and the shadow of a spear emitting bright light slowly emerged in the body. In an instant, a violent and destructive aura filled Shuan's body. The illusory spear was like a greedy glutton, madly devouring the blood and energy in Shuan's body. Not enough. Shuan endured the pain of tearing his meridians and desperately poured energy and blood into the illusory spear. At the same time, Zhongling in front swept across the battlefield and shouted, "Xiao Wu, go to the east. Jeline, go to the middle. Old Lu, you go to the west." As Zhongling's voice sounded, the human race's team formed a strange shape. Like a crooked long worm, it penetrated most of the martial arts stage. "It's not good yet, it's too crooked." Zhongling swept across the battlefield, murmuring in a low voice with sweat on his forehead. The first step went smoothly, but the Blood God clan, whose strength had greatly increased, was too strong. They tried their best, but they could only go so far. As for the rest, it's time to fight. But at this moment, a member of the Blood God clan discovered Shuan, who was alone, and walked away quickly with a sinister smile on his face. "Stop him!" The team members roared at the same time when they saw this. Shuan is their only hope at this time. If Shuan is killed, everything will be over. But now that the team members have opponents on the opposite side, it is already very difficult for them to just resist. If he rushes out to stop the Blood God clan, the simple, straight line he finally built may collapse in an instant. Leave me alone and continue. Shuan shouted loudly when he saw this, and gritted his teeth secretly as he looked at the Blood God clan coming towards him. Boy, what are you hiding behind? Are you afraid of death so you don't want to go on stage? The Blood God clan who came closer had a cruel smile on their faces and punched them hard. The illusory spear was still frantically condensing in Shuan's body, and he was unable to take action at all. He could only grit his teeth and slow down the speed of transporting energy and blood. A red light flashed under his feet and disappeared in an instant. Wandering dragon step. Shuan couldn't take action at this time, otherwise the illusory spear that had finally been condensed would be destroyed. He could only rely on footwork and combat skills to constantly dodge the incoming attacks. But such a scene made the watching humans who didn't know the inside story stand up angrily. Shuan, what the hell are you doing? Why don't you dare to fight to get on the stage? Maid, let me get in. Why are you afraid that an egg will run away? Just beat him. Everyone else is trying their best, but you are the only one running away. Shuan, please don't lose the face of the human race. Angry curses echoed throughout the sky. The other compatriots were trying their best, but Shuan was the only one who was being chased and running around in embarrassment. How embarrassing it is to face a foreign race. Although the human race lost the previous battle, it showed the iron-blooded spirit of the human race. But now, Shuan has almost embarrassed the human race. Some people with bad tempers can't help but kill themselves. Haha, this human race is really interesting. There is an old saying in Blue Star, he who knows the current affairs is a hero. It seems that this person has a very thorough understanding. Gaowu's sarcastic laughter made the humans present even more angry. The faces of many strong men from the human race were extremely gloomy at this time. In the ring, Shuan listened to the insults without paying any attention. While avoiding the attacks around him, his eyes were always scanning the entire scene. The body that seemed to be running away in embarrassment was actually adjusting its position again and again, waiting for that fleeting opportunity to appear. Time is limited. Shuan took the time to glance at the Blood God monument, and the anxiety in his eyes was clearly visible. 5 minutes left. Zhongling. Shuan roared angrily, and Zhongling instantly understood what he meant. Xiaowu. Zhongling gritted his teeth and shouted loudly. On the battlefield, Xiaowu looked at the Blood God clan in front of him and grinned. Grandson, Grandpa has had enough fun. Before the Blood God clan could react, Xiaowu suddenly shouted loudly. Burst. Boom. The powerful attack did not kill the Blood God clan who had been on guard for a long time. It's just that his body unconsciously shifted a lot towards the middle of the ring amid the explosion. Looking at the overall situation, the weird and crooked, long snake team has been forcibly straightened in the middle. And this explosion seemed to turn on a mysterious switch. Jeline, Lao Lu, Xiaosong. Every time Zhongling shouted loudly, there would be an explosion. And every time an explosion sounds, the long, crooked snake becomes straighter. Those dead humans, like repairmen, forcibly sent the blood gods on the track to hell. It all sounds very slow, but it happened in an instant. 7 explosions occurred in a row, almost at the same time. The people of the Blood God clan also stood in a straight row unconsciously for a very short time. Shuan, Zhongling was covered in blood and screamed loudly. This is the only chance. Also at this moment, Shuan, who had been running around, had a bright light in his eyes. From his current position, he could clearly see the straight line of the Blood God clan. Chop Suey. Along with a low growl, Shuan grinned ferociously. Time is up. Broken Star. Come out. Boom. Shuan grasped the void with his right hand, and an illusory and bright spear exuding the aura of destruction appeared in his hand instantly. Give me. Die. Shuan quickly twisted his upper body, the muscles of his right arm bulged high, his clothes exploded, his raised steps fell hard, and he used all his strength to throw the spear in his hand. Boom. In an instant, the arena where Shuan was standing exploded, and streaks of rubble seemed to be frozen in the void, shooting away with the spear. At that moment, light appeared on the stage again. A dazzling spear that exuded the aura of destruction tore apart the first Blood God clan with devastating force. Then the second, third, fourth. Those blood gods whose bloodlines had been strengthened were like fragile cloth when faced with this terrifying spear. They were unable to stop the spear at all and were directly pierced through. The spear that had pierced through all the blood gods was still moving towards the distance at a high speed even though its power was not exhausted. At this time, a shocking scene appeared on the ring. 20 blood gods stood in a row, with a frighteningly large hole in their chests. At the end of the cave entrance, there was a young man panting and sweating profusely. The young man suddenly raised his head, his gaze passed through the broken chests of the 20 blood gods, and looked directly in the direction of the blood gods. He grinned. "We won, you fools." When Shu An's words fell, the first to react were the remaining team members on the stage. Zhong Ling and others stared blankly at the blood gods who were collectively penetrated through the chest. Just now, they used all their strength to entangle the enemy in front of them, locking the enemy firmly in the established position. Even Xiao Wu and others who were not strong enough finally completed Shu An's entrustment at the cost of their lives. But even if they complete their mission, they don't know whether this plan will succeed. Because time is too short. How short was the time it took for the blood gods to be forced into a line? 2 seconds. 1 second. Not even the blink of an eye. But in this extremely short period of time, a spear filled with explosive and destructive aura sped away from their eyes. They were very close to the blood god clan, so close that they could clearly feel the blazing temperature contained in the spear. The bright light flashed across, and the sense of mortality that filled their bodies ushered in new hope. Zhong Ling looked at the blood god clan whose chest was pierced by a spear, his eyes gradually turned red and his body gradually trembled. "We won." Almost hysterical, with a hint of crying roar resounding throughout the world. These young team members cried with joy, and their excitement seemed to explode from their chests. In such a prosperous grade, who would want to die if they want to live? But there is no way. Daxia needs them, and the human race needs them. They could only bite the bullet and embarked on the battlefield full of despair and anger towards the aliens. No one wants to go back alive, they just hope that they can die more valuable. However, they survived, and they survived by annihilating all the aliens. No one can feel the same way. At this moment, no one can understand how joyful the excitement of escaping from death is. Shuan, Zhong Ling and others looked at the young man in torn clothes in the center of the field, the gratitude and shock in their eyes were beyond words. They may never forget it in their lifetime. At the end of his life, that spear with bright light tore through the darkness and illuminated the way to life. The martial arts arena was quiet at this time, and everyone was watching blankly, looking at this dream-like scene. As the spear exploded into the sky, and as Zhong Ling and others roared, the atmosphere that fell into deathly silence exploded in an instant. "We won. Ha ha ha, we won. Shuan, you are my god. Ha ha ha. Aren't you the blood god clan arrogant? Aren't you asking us humans to die? Speak, look at the corpses of the blood god clan and say loudly who has won. Ha 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 ha, alien race, take your people back, our human race has won. Shuan, invincible. He killed well, ha 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 ha." Excited cheers and laughter resounded throughout the world. No one knows how depressed the people present feel when they know they will die but still have to play. In the territory of the human race, forcing the human race to die is a shame for the human race. Regardless of the amount of money spent in this gambling battle, the human race cannot afford to lose just in terms of victory or defeat. In his own field, being beaten by a foreign race and crushing all the members of the academy. This will be a dark history that cannot be washed away. It turned out that all the team members in the previous game were wiped out, which made everyone's heart sink to the bottom. But no one expected that Shu An's appearance on the stage and his powerful magical power would provide a perfect match for today's gambling battle. The human race has won. Still a great victory. 20 humans participated in the war, and now there are only 13 left. The Blood God clan has been completely wiped out. This battle was even more beautiful than the battle in the casting realm. Everyone looked towards the ring, towards the young man who was shouted at by everyone and was scolded by everyone not long ago. Now everyone is not stingy with their praise. Who didn't have the foresight to scold me, brother? And was that an escape just now? It was a tactic, do you understand? That blow just now was so powerful. Killing 20 blood gods at once was something even Ji Yuli couldn't do, right? That's awesome, even if the formation is strong, but the individual combat power is so terrifying. Is this still a new life? Destroy all the blood gods with one blow, turn the tide, and kill my brethren. At this time, no one suppresses their inner thoughts. The terrifying blow just now crushed the prejudices of everyone present. When Shuan entered school, he killed dozens of people in a row. Although he was strong at that time, there were many people who were dissatisfied. But now, just like Ji Li, Shuan conquered everyone with his own strength. So what about the perfect one? Even if they are robbed of credits in the future, they will be willing to do so. In 3 competitions, the human race won 2. At this time, even the many strong men of the human race swept away their gloomy attitude just now and smiled. What a great move. That spear just now should be a heaven-level combat skill, right? I'm afraid it won't stop. The shadow of the imaginary spear contains the artistic conception of destruction. It should be a magical power. Hiss. Magical power. It's a blessing, but can the method of magical power be learned in the blood-melting realm? The strong men of the human race gathered together, and when they talked about the magical power Shuan had just displayed, everyone looked shocked. The world's combat skills are divided into 4 levels: Tian, Di, Zan, and Huang. Other low-level combat skills are not included. As for the combat skills that have reached this level, they are all powerful tactics that can greatly enhance one's personal combat power. Just like the Wandering Dragon step recorded in the Academy, it is a mid-level prefecture-level footwork combat skill. Although it is extremely difficult to practice, it is very effective. This is only an Earth-level mid-level combat skill, but combat skills that reach the heaven level are extremely difficult to practice and are also very rare. There are not even a few schools. And above these 4th-level combat skills, it is no longer combat skills, but magical powers. Combat skills, in the final analysis, are just the use of power, or one's own power, or the power of heaven and earth, and so on. And magical power is another level of warfare. This involves potential, meaning, and finally, law, and Tao. Every magical power can turn mountains and seas, and its power is terrifying. Warriors who can control magical powers are all powerful human beings. This kind of fighting method is not only rare, but I can't force it until I have the opportunity. Lin Chengyuan looked at Shuan a little strangely at this time. I thought that Ji Li was already extremely talented, but I didn't expect that my junior brother was no longer immortal. Even if he has a powerful sense of formation, now he has obtained magical powers and tactics in the blood-dissolving realm and can use them. This kind of powerful understanding is comparable to Zhou and Ji Li. Teacher still doesn't know that he has another evildoer under his sect, right? I've mastered one form of magical power. When the teacher comes, I'm afraid I won't be able to use it as a normal greeting gift. Not knowing what he thought of, Lin Chengyuan showed a smile on his face. But when he turned to look at Guan Wenshan, the smile on his face condensed. Why do you look so ugly? Didn't we win? At this time, the human race was victorious, and everyone was smiling with joy, but Guan Wenshan frowned and looked around from time to time. After hearing Lin Chengyuan's words, he shook his head slightly and said uneasily. I don't know why, but I always feel a little frightened. There is a crisis of imminent disaster. Lin Chengyuan's expression changed instantly when he heard this. The gambling battle was won, and all the races were cheering. But Shuan on the stage had his eyes closed tightly and his forehead was covered with sweat. He understood that the victory in the gambling battle was just the beginning, and the real conspiracy of the Blood God clan was still behind. Hurry up, Shuan kept murmuring anxiously. He could feel that the establishment of the Void Channel at this time was about to succeed. Only by controlling the Blood God monument before the channel is completely established can the transmission be interrupted. But now his destiny value has not changed, so he can only continue to wait. Fortunately, after killing the Blood God clan, feedback came from the Stone of Destiny instantly. Kill Celia and get 500 destiny points. Kill Aliban and get 800 destiny points. Kill Derenner and get 1200 destiny points. Seeing the feedback on the Destiny Stone, Shuan looked happy. The Blood God clan who arrived today are all carefully selected elites of the Blood God clan. And this means that these people will cause great harm to the human race in the future. Now he is killing these blood gods in advance and has gained an extremely large amount of destiny points. A total of 20 blood gods received a total of 21,000 destiny points. He has a destiny value of 23,000, and now he has an additional 21,000. Comprehension can be used again. Shuan looked at the blood god monument, his eyes suddenly brightened. At the same time, in the direction of the blood god clan, when they saw the team members being wiped out in an instant, the mocking laughter that rang out, like a chicken being strangled by the neck, stopped abruptly. Mordor, Gaowu and others looked at Shuan with cold eyes. There are too many. There are really too many talented people in the human race. The killings are endless and the swarms are endless. This kind of human race is terrifying. Mordor sighed, but there was not much pessimism on his face. Hey, that's fine too. When these geniuses die, the human race can feel the pain and feel the pain. Gaowu raised his head and looked into the depths of the sky, with a ferocious smile on his face. I, the Blood God clan, have lost, but you, Daxia, are going to die, ha 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 ha. While the wild laughter resounded across the sky, the space above the sky shook. Large swaths of blood, like a rushing sea of blood, emerged from the depths of the sky and dyed the entire world red. The expressions of the celebrating humans suddenly changed, and they looked toward the sky uneasily. They didn't understand what had happened. Gaowu, what are you, the Blood God clan, going to do? The crisis in Guan Wenshan's heart rose to the extreme in vain, and he shouted fiercely. Lin Chengyuan and the powerful human beings present immediately came behind Guan Wenshan and looked at the sky in surprise. What? Gaowu raised his arms horizontally and looked at the changed sky with fiery eyes. Of course it is to welcome the arrival of my Blood God clan army. Boom. The moment he finished speaking, circles of space ripples appeared in the sky. An illusory space passage came from the depths of nothingness at great speed. In the phantom that appeared in the sky, countless Blood God clan armies were waving flags and shouting, their killing cries shaking the sky. The auras of the leading Blood God clan surged into the sky, exuding terrifying coercion. Ha ha ha, you think you won. Everything has just begun. Gaowu's loud laughter resounded throughout the world, and his arrogance spread in all directions. The interface has been locked, the void channel has been established, and Gaowu and others have suddenly revealed their plans and are no longer hiding. Venerable Blood Flame, the Blood God clan army is in trouble. Guan Wenshan's expression changed completely and he shouted. Escort the students thoroughly, and follow me to block the Blood God clan from above the divine realm. Boom, boom, boom. Waves of powerful pressure rose into the sky, and the human camp was instantly in chaos. At this moment, everyone understood that this was a trick of the Blood God clan. They were actually able to come from the Blood God realm, which was hundreds of millions of miles away, and came across dimensions without everyone knowing. Everyone panicked. Daxia is now the emptiest moment. Most of the strong men are preparing for war on the front lines, and the rear is empty. The Blood God clan was obviously well prepared, with countless armies led by many strong men. How to fight this? It's impossible to fight. Escape. Facing that countless army, how can these students who have never been on the battlefield escape? This Blood God clan wants to cut off Daxia's young lineage. This method of removing fuel from the bottom of the cauldron disrupted all plans of the human race. Ha ha ha, Guan Wenshan, I am here in person, why don't you welcome me quickly? At this time, the sky was completely dyed in blood, and the whirlpool-like passage was rapidly solidifying. The Blood God clan army has not yet arrived, but Lord Bloodflame's laughter that shook the world has already sounded. Escape. Escape quickly. Live as many as you want. Guan Wenshan's eyes were blood red, and the killing intent on his body shot straight to the sky. The rest of the strong humans, stop these Blood God clan people. After the words fell, Guan Wenshan rushed out instantly, and what greeted him was Mordor from the Blood God clan. Old friend, I'll break your Daxia's back this time, ha 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 ha. Mordor laughed loudly, and waves of blood poured out from his body. The strong men of the human race gritted their teeth and stepped forward. They had to buy time for the retreating students. If we wait for the Blood God clan army to arrive, no one will survive. The war broke out, and all races tried their best. Lin Chengyuan's sword intent soared to the sky, and he was about to kill Gaowu, but at this time a call came out. Brother, protect me. Shuan, Lin Chengyuan was stunned and looked down to see Xuan running towards the blood god monument directly in front of him. He has a way. Lin Chengyuan's eyes lit up. He suddenly thought that before the battle started, Xuan had said that he would protect him for a while. Could it be that Xuan expected that the blood god clan would teleport their army to arrive? I trust you once. There was no time to think deeply. Lin Chengyuan gritted his teeth secretly, and instead of rushing to the front line, he came to Xuan's side. Give you a minute. No matter what you want to do, if there is no result within 1 minute, I will send you away. Lin Chengyuan glanced at the bloody sky and said quickly. Xuan strode to the blood god monument. Looking at the tall monument, a smile appeared on his face. 1 minute is enough. After the words fell, Xuan let out a light drink in his heart. Your understanding is against the heavens, open it. Boom. The next moment, Xuan opened his eyes, and his golden eyes illuminated the world. The world that turned into blood instantly collapsed in front of him. Enlightenment is enlightened. Huge waves set off in Xuan's sea of consciousness, and the bright light filled the entire ocean. His eyes bloomed with golden light, and the bloody world began to collapse. At this time, in front of his eyes, the world was no longer there, but the lines of laws that formed the world. Even the hidden existence in the world was naked in front of him at this time. Xuan, who was anxious just now looked calm. It was a kind of panic that would not occur even if the world collapsed. It is the ultimate self-confidence to control everything after clearly understanding the nature of the world. Blood God Monument. Xuan chuckled, his golden eyes glanced over, and the lines engraved on the monument were flowing crazily at this moment. The immortal body of the blood god, which is extremely difficult for even the blood god clan to comprehend, was comprehended at an exaggerated speed. This, Lin Chengyuan, who was standing next to Xuan, was paying attention to the battle ahead with a solemn expression, the sword in his hand ready to strike at any time. But suddenly, he felt a chill in his heart, and a great fear emerged in his heart. Lin Chengyuan suppressed the throbbing in his heart and turned to look at Xuan. When he saw Xuan's golden eyes, his heart was shocked, as if the lightning from the 9 heavens had fallen. What kind of eyes are those? Profound, wise, calm, it seems that nothing can affect his mood. He just glanced at it, but found that all his secrets seemed to be known to the other party. Lin Chengyuan was horrified, and was stunned for a moment. At the same time, the fighting in front became more intense, but the Blood God clan only struggled, but did not fight tooth and nail. They already have a winning chance. Ha ha ha, it's useless, you will all die when the army comes. From now on, Daxia will be destroyed without the 10,000 races school in 3 years, ha 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 ha. Gaowu's hearty laughter resounded throughout the world. After this battle, the Great Sha territory was already in the possession of the Blood God clan. In this rich world, the Blood God clan will usher in a period of rapid explosion. The strong human race man in front of Gaowu looked cold, but his eyes were anxious. His strength is much greater than Gaowu's, but his opponent's eye skills are too strong. Gaowu seemed to have seen through his own offensive and was able to dodge at critical moments every time. And the light that bloomed from time to time in those pupils could tear apart the space every time, so he had to deal with it carefully. Facing Gaowu like this, his offensive would not be effective at all. Not only him, but all the strong men of the human race encountered similar situations at this time. The Blood God clan didn't confront them head-on at all. They chased me, harassed me, and just clung to them. Okay, good method. Guan Wenshan looked around and was furious in his heart. He laughed angrily and said, "Even if you die, I will break off a few of your Blood God clan teeth." At this time, Guan Wenshan already had death intentions. With the arrival of the Blood God clan army, led by many powerful men, this was already a certain death situation. What he can do is to block the enemy as much as possible and let more humans escape. Thinking of this, Guan Wenshan took a deep breath, and the energy in his body exploded. Boom! With Guanwen Mountain as the center, a space of dozens of feet in radius suddenly collapsed. Jin! Guan Wenshan roared angrily, and a monstrous light erupted from his fists. In an instant, a pair of fists on the sky seemed to burst the sky, and crashed down with the power of shattering everything. Tear! Under those terrifying fists, the void collapsed and the storm raged. Muldo, who was blocking Guan Wenshan, was immediately blown away. Supernatural power, giant spirit fist. Mordor wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, but still smiled relaxedly. Old friend, are you ready to fight for your life? Guan Wenshan is very strong, and Moldo is no match for him if he works hard. But he doesn't need to confront Guan Wenshan head-on, he just needs to wait quietly. Guan Wenshan carried overwhelming pressure, and every time his fists landed, a large area of void collapsed. Moldo kept retreating, but many other members of the Blood God clan were torn apart by those fists. Guan Wenshan fought with disheveled hair until he went crazy. At this time, he didn't care who his opponent was. As long as he was from the Blood God clan, his iron fists would fall instantly. Faced with the desperate efforts of such a strong man, the Blood God clan was beaten back steadily. But at this moment, there was a loud shock in the sky, and the illusory passage suddenly solidified. Boys, kill! Lord Shuiyan's laughter sounded in another interface, but it chilled the hearts of everyone here. The channel was established successfully. The endless Blood God clan army and many great powers are coming across the passage. Zhan Yi, who had always seemed transparent, now had a glimmer of light in his eyes and a vague look of struggle on his face. But just a moment later, his eyes looked at Gaowu. At this time, the human race was in chaos, and all the students ran away in fear. Ji Yuli didn't know when he woke up. When he saw the messy scene, he was immediately confused. I just slept for a while, and the Blood God clan army is all here. Ji Yuli was dumbfounded. He looked around and realized what was going on, and hurriedly came to Lin Chengyuan. Senior brother, run away, why are you still here at this time? Ji Yuli was a little anxious. Even if he didn't know the specific incident, he still knew that the human race present was far from the opponent of the Blood God clan. If we wait any longer, no one will survive. Xuan, there are still 10 seconds. Looking at the approaching Blood God clan, Lin Chengyuan also started sweating on his forehead. The hand holding the sword was clenched and turned white, and the sword intention on his body was hesitant, ready to take action at any time. He understood how dangerous the current situation was, but he promised Xuan to protect him for 1 minute. After a minute, no matter what the outcome, he would leave. Now there are less than 10 seconds left, can Xuan succeed? Xuan, are you crazy too? What kind of Blood God monument are you still trying to comprehend at this time? Even if you now have the immortal body of the Blood God, you still can't stop it. If we wait any longer, we'll all be doomed. Ji Yuli looked at Xuan's back, then at the Blood God clan who was about to arrive, and almost jumped up in excitement. At this time, the shouts of killing from the Blood God clan army could be heard in the ears, and the coercion radiated by those powerful people dissipated. Even some former marchers have 1 foot out of the passage. Suddenly, Xuan, who had been motionless like a statue, turned his head. His golden pupils swept across the sky, looking at the blood gods who were about to pour out of the passage, and he spoke softly. And the low voice seemed to ring in everyone's ears. The void passage that was originally rotating like a vortex suddenly stopped rotating with a sudden tremor, and the opened door quickly closed. The blood god who was about to step out just now was torn in half by the power of the void. The army speeding through the passage stopped, and the sound of the laughing blood god clan stopped abruptly. The bright red blood fell, and everyone present looked up blankly. The void channel that was originally established actually closed the exit unilaterally. For a moment, everyone was confused. What is going on? The void channel has been established and cannot be destroyed at all. What's going on? Seeing that the transmission exit of the channel was closed, Gaowu panicked. He was really panicking at this time. In the hinterland of the human race, he was talking nonsense and killing so many people. All the sources of confidence came from the blood god army behind him. But now, people are killed and scolded, but at the critical moment, the army can't get through. Gaowu looked at the human race's eyes that were full of murderous intent, and felt that his eyes were getting a little dark. Not only Gaowu, but also veteran Mordor was in disarray at this time. In the hinterland of the human race, there is no way to retreat. Behind them are the troops guarding Daxia. Their initial expectation was that after abolishing the school, they would leave directly through the void passage, leaving the human race with no place to look for them. But now, let alone leaving, all the entrances and exits to the blue star plane are closed. How can this be done? At the same time, The strong men of the human race were stunned for a moment, and then were overjoyed. Without the support of the Blood God Clan army, the Blood God Clan in front of them alone would not be their opponent. But what puzzles everyone is why this channel was suddenly closed. Beside the Blood God monument, Ji Li looked at Shu and dumbfounded. Others don't understand, but he is watching next to him, how can he not understand? When Shuan said, "Stop," the passage was immediately closed. This scene, which seemed to follow his words, left Lin Chengyuan on the side stunned on the spot. It's not difficult. Let this Blood God monument recognize its owner and close its internal space source. The Blood God Clan can only watch. Shuan smiled relaxedly, his tone calm. Let the Blood God monument recognize its owner. How is this possible? It doesn't mean that only those who understand the immortal body of the Blood God. Ji Li was about to say something, but suddenly he saw a wave of energy and blood emerging from Shuan's body. Complex and exquisite lines appeared on Shuan's skin. Yes, this Blood God's immortal body is very strong. Shuan gently clenched his fist, feeling the surge of power in his body, and couldn't help but chuckle. Only after he fully understood the immortal body of the Blood God did he realize how lucky it was that Ji Li was able to kill Yala. The Blood God's immortal body is strengthened in almost all aspects. Defense, strength, speed, energy and blood. This kind of physique is perfected, just like the records in the Blood God's immortal body, it can be reborn with a drop of blood. Of course, what Shuan has obtained now is only the Blood God monument in the physical realm. Only by getting the remaining 2 pieces can the Blood God's immortal body be completed. The remaining 2 pieces. The golden light in Shuan's eyes was still there. After pondering for a moment, he looked towards the sky. Come, Shuan called softly, stretched out his hand and gently touched a small line in the Blood God monument in front of him. The lines are extremely small, but they are one of the origins of the Blood God monument. Boom, click. At the next moment, a monstrous bloody light shot straight into the sky from the Blood God monument in front of Shuan. A special but strong wave crossed the space gap and headed into the distance. At the same time, in a dark red world, 2 huge stone tablets hundreds of feet high suddenly shook. They seemed to have been summoned by something, and they slowly rose up from the ground to leave this world. Snort. Suddenly, a cold snort sounded, and the entire Blood God realm was shocked. The 2 stone tablets off the ground were suppressed in place by a terrifying force. The body realm Blood God monument was forcibly recognized as its owner, and the spirit realm and God realm monuments had to be taken away. A tall man wearing simple bloody clothes looked up into the void. His eyes transcended the obstacles of the interface and saw the plight of the Blood God clan at this time. Did you fail? The tall man murmured, and after pondering for a moment, he stepped out of the void and directly entered the void passage. The blue star interface at this time. Pity. Shuan shook his head. He could sense that there was a terrifying force on the other side, suppressing the 2 stone tablets. I'm afraid I won't be able to succeed with this method, so I can only think of ways in the future. It's him. Human race, you robbed my Blood God clan's sacred monument. That special fluctuation finally attracted Gaowu's attention. He looked at Shuan, his eyes filled with crazy killing intent. The Blood God monument is the most precious treasure of the Blood God clan. If it is lost in the human world, he will be a sinner. Gaowu never expected that his Blood God clan's most precious treasure would actually recognize a human race as its master. Kill him. Snatch back the Blood God monument and welcome the Lord to come. Mordor also went crazy. The energy and blood in his body was like a long river of blood, heading straight for Shuan. Hey, old guy, are you going to fight for your life? Guan Wenshan stopped Mordor. His face was no longer cold, but he laughed jokingly. He didn't expect that the situation would reverse so quickly. In the blink of an eye, he became the character of Mordor just now. You chase me and run, you run and I harass. Guan Wenshan was already stronger than Mordor, but now that he has the upper hand, he is even more capable. It's not easy for this kid to force the Blood God clan's Blood God monument to recognize its owner. Guan Wenshan took the time to glance in Shuan's direction, with a smile on his lips. However, before Guan Wenshan could be optimistic for too long, a violent roar sounded from deep in the sky. A terrifying pressure of terror descended instantly. Guan Wenshan and others' expressions suddenly changed and they looked up. In the shadow reflected in the sky, the trapped blood god clan is still clearly visible. The exit to the human world is closed, and they can only go back the same way they came. They cannot forcefully break through, otherwise they will be lost in nothingness and wander forever. But suddenly, a bloody torrent rushed into the passage, and a terrifying bloody stream of light slammed into the closed exit. Wow! Click! With just one blow, countless cracks appeared in the sky above Daxia's head like glass. The strong men of the human race saw their scalps numb. If you want to know, the entrance to the passage has been closed at this time. The Blood God clan has lost its coordinates, is stranded in the void, and is no longer at its original position. Although they can see the Blood God clan is extremely far away from Daxia's true location. But in this case, the sudden stream of light can actually shatter the sky of Daxia interface. How terrifying is this power? Blood Ancestor. The blood gods such as Gaowu and Moldo all showed fanatical expressions at this time. The human race didn't know who it was, but they were very familiar with it. He is the leader of the Blood God clan, another bloodline returnee, the Blood Ancestor. The Blood Ancestor is here to save them. I will tear apart the space, Gaowu will lock the coordinates with the Blood God eyes, and I will guide you in the void. At the same time as the loud sound sounded, another terrifying wave fell from the void. Click. The sky above Daxia began to collapse on a large scale, and the dark void exuded a lonely and terrifying atmosphere. Lord Blood Ancestor, why don't you kill these humans and take back the Blood God monument? The Blood Ancestor forcibly opened up the void passage, but Gaowu was unwilling to leave and looked at the Blood God monument unwillingly. If the Blood God clan wants to leave at this time, they can retreat safely. The channel of nothingness is opened, and the Blood Ancestor uses his own powerful origin as the coordinate. The Blood God eyes of Gaowu and the Blood Ancestor, who are from the same lineage, can accurately lock on it. Even in the directionless nothingness, one can still find the direction of the Blood God realm. But the energetic Gaowu was unwilling to miss such a good opportunity. The Blood Ancestor came in person and could easily kill these human races with just a little effort. Retreat. The Blood Ancestor did not explain, but just shouted angrily. But it's too late. Boom. In the passage where the Blood Ancestor stood, a golden spear tore through the void, shattered the passage, and exploded with terrifying power. The Blood Ancestor's complexion changed slightly, and with a wave of his sleeves, a huge wave of blood surged out, pushing back the spear. But the next moment, a tall and majestic figure wearing battle armor grasped the fallen spear. He stood with a gun in hand, his eyes as bright as a god's, looking at the Blood Ancestor. Where do you want to go? The Blood Ancestor looked calm, but his eyes were full of solemnity. God of War Zhou Wuyuan, you arrived quickly. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.